commissioners, real quick, is that because your bylaws require voting on officers to be done by an electronic voting method as opposed to a roll call vote, we're going to put a poll up today. The polling feature from Facebook is one that is commonly used. We don't use it for votes very frequently because it's difficult to limit the participation of people other than those who should be voting. So when we put it up, we'll need the 12 commissioners to vote, but any other participants on the call don't need to vote. If they do end up voting, we can weed those votes out, but it may take us a minute. But we are going to be able to put that vote on the screen and keep a document of it just as we would with a regular vote in the chamber. So. But if y'all have any questions about that when we get to it, just let us know. But that should be a pretty easy process. And it looks like for some reason we're working fine on YouTube, but we are just not on Facebook. Linda or Michelle, what we may do is, can we link to YouTube from our Facebook page? That way, if somebody goes to our Facebook page to view it, we can at least send a link to direct them to the YouTube page.
I'll call Crystal and ask her.
And again, for anybody just joining us, our apologies. We use a third-party restreaming service to stream our Zoom meetings out to the public so that they can watch the meeting and be in compliance, obviously, with our open meetings laws. And for some reason, that service is redirecting our stream to only one of the websites that we advertise. So we're having to find a workaround real quick.
Jeff, can I ask you a question about the Facebook voting method?
Or the Zoom voting method?
Is it, so it's going to be on Zoom, not on Facebook?
It's through Zoom, yes.
Okay, so it'll just appear on our screen here in front of us, very easy, and we can just click without leaving Zoom.
Absolutely right.
Perfect. Okay, thank you.
Yes,
Hey,
it should be. Yes, Michelle.
Sorry, I just talked to Crystal and she is linking the YouTube page to our Facebook right now as we speak.
Right. As long as that's done, that we should be able to get started. And thanks everybody for your patience. It's just when we advertise where we are streaming, we have to be able to be streaming there. So if for some reason that site's not working, we can redirect to a site where we are streaming at least. That way anybody in the public is still able to view as they would be interested. Okay, and is that up now, Michelle?
I don't see it just yet.
I hadn't gotten an update just yet.
There it is. Yes, it's on there now.
Okay, great. Okay, then I think it is safe to go ahead and get started. Commissioner Johnson, if you want to get started, I realize it's less than perfect, but at least we are streaming.
Okay, thank you, Jill. Call to order now the regular session meeting for January the 6th at 3:30. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Hopkins.
Here.
Commissioner Johnson.
Present.
Commissioner Jackson. I saw Commissioner Jackson, but I did not hear him. Commissioner Young.
Present.
Commissioner Burrell.
Yeah.
Commissioner Jones. Commissioner Gage Watts.
Present.
Commissioner Taliaferro.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Atkins.
Here.
Commissioner Chavez.
Here, sir.
Commissioner Lazarus.
Here.
And Commissioner Epperson. And
Present.
okay, there you are. So I am counting 12 of 12 members present. So that is a quorum.
All right. I would ask Commissioner Stormy Gage Watts to do the invocation and Commissioner Mario Chavez to do the Pledge of Allegiance.
Yes, sir.
Let us pray. O Lord, our God, how excellent is your name in all of the earth. Oh God, we thank you for your grace and your mercy, oh God, even now. Thank you, Jesus. Now, Lord, we yield our sense of inadequacy and failure to your bigger, more beautiful plan. Please make all things work together for good this year in us and if necessary, oh God, in spite of us. We love you and we thank you. In Jesus Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Everybody please stand. Mr. Everson, can we get a flag on the meeting?
There it goes.
All right. Citizens, put your right hand over your heart, and active military or veterans may render a hand to brow salute and repeat after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
one nation
nation,
under
under
God,
God,
Indivisible, with liberty and justice
justice
for
for
all.
all.
Thank you, Commissioner Watts and Commissioner Chavez. Next item, Mr. Clerk.
Okay, this brings us to the agenda additions. And if you are looking at your electronic agenda, you may see that there is a potential agenda addition. If you have a print agenda, it may not be on there. But there is one potential agenda addition that we were made aware of from Commissioner Young, resolution number 9.
Can I move to add this to the agenda?
second.
This would be the appropriate time, yes.
So moved, yeah.
Second.
Been moved by Commissioner Young, seconded by Commissioner Chavez to potentially add resolution number 9 of 2022. The public hearing is now open on resolution number 9 of adding this to our agenda. Anybody want to call in? Jeff, I guess you got to give them the number and all that to call in.
Sir, that number is 226-6596. Again, that number is 226-6596. If somebody would like to speak for or against expanding the agenda to include the consideration of resolution number 9.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Commissioner Evers.
I have my hand up. May I have a comment?
Go ahead.
Resolution number 9, has it been sent to us? What's the nature of it?
I'm checking it out now. It's on the electronic agenda, but it's not on the, if you printed it out earlier, it's not on that. It's on the electronic agenda. And it's dealing with the Parish Attorney's Office to request an opinion from the Louisiana State Attorney General's Office regarding the authority of the Parish Commission functioning as a planning and zoning commission and otherwise providing with respect thereto.
Okay, I think that's good. I think it's good that the public, and that is the entire verbiage of it.
That's the header.
That's
It
the
has, the body has some more stuff in it.
Mr. Clerk, could you share that on the screen maybe for a minute or so?
I'd be glad to. One moment, let me pull it up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Go ahead and put your hand down so then I won't know. You still want to talk.
Here is resolution number 9, and what you see on screen should be the entirety of the document. While we're waiting for everybody to have a chance to look over that, Linda, have we received any calls for or against the expansion of the agenda?
No, sir.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman, in my opinion, that suffices. I think the general public has had an opportunity to view it.
Okay.
Okay, so not hearing anybody here to speak in for or against the expansion of the
Public hearing.
agenda.
public hearing is now closed on adding this to our agenda, resolution number 9. Commissioner Young, you want to speak to your motion?
If I'm permitted, yes.
Go ahead, you can speak now.
Thank you. This resolution is a response to the many communications we've received from constituents in the rural parts of the parish who prefer not to have us appoint a board of unelected people to make zoning and planning decisions and recommendations, but instead to use our own elected body to do that work. It appears to me from reading some of the statutes relating to this that there is a legal argument to be made that we could be allowed to do that. And I talked about this with Attorney Bernstein, and he thought in order to get a little more information about this, it was just as well to ask the Attorney General's office for an opinion as well. And but I hope that this would provide us enough information to decide whether to move forward in that direction at all, which is what our constituents are asking us to do. Thank you.
All right. Just to let you know that, as a commissioner, you can also do the same request, and it doesn't have to be a resolution.
Commissioner, can I speak to that real quickly?
Go ahead.
The Attorney General, if the request is from the parish itself, the Attorney General requires that it be a formal resolution of the governing authority. So the question is whether if it's coming from the parish, then it has to be by resolution. That's why at Commissioner Young's request, I prepared the resolution to request the opinion.
Oh, well, that's not what I said. I said an individual commissioner can also request the same deal without it being a resolution. Now, if it's coming from the body, yes, it has to go through an approval process, which would be a resolution. Right. But as a commissioner, you can sit here and write this yourself and send it in, asking the Attorney General to give his opinion on it. It doesn't have to go through the whole body. That's the only thing I'm saying.
Thank you. I did not know that.
Yes.
Point of information, Mr. Chairman.
Well, you got the floor if you want the floor. You don't have to do a point of information.
All right. Well, that'll be fine. No, I was just as I was reading through it, what came to mind is what's the difference between us having an NPC that have members that are not elected, and this is it just the organization structure, or is it something that has just been put in law as the NPC as an organization? They're not elected to make planning decisions.
May I
that was a question?
That's my question. That was my question.
Go ahead, Commissioner Young. Answer his question.
Thank you. I think so. The MPC or the Caddo Parish Planning Board that was envisioned by 6071 would be people who weren't elected. The difference would be if we served as the planning board as the Caddo Commission, we would be elected. So that's the difference. And the constituents who write to us say they want elected people to make these decisions for them. So I wanted to suggest that we find out whether we could.
Okay, so your point is whether or not we had the authority as elected officials to form into a planning group.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Have we gotten an opinion from our own parish attorneys?
Commissioner, it's the opinion of Ms. Frazier and myself that the way the statutes read, you have to appoint a planning commission, not serve as the planning commission yourself. So that's So that was the discussion that led Commissioner Young to want to see if it was possible, and he said could we. He asked if it was possible to seek an Attorney General's opinion on it. And I said certainly, and that the Attorney General would want it to be requested on behalf of the parish by resolution. So that's what led to the resolution. But it's our position that you would have to appoint someone else to serve as a planning commission.
Okay, so basically the opinion of our parish attorneys is that you would have to appoint someone to serve in that capacity as not the elected electors to actually serve in that particular capacity.
That's correct, sir.
And the public wants that we serve instead of appointing individuals to serve.
Right.
A small group. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, is that exclusive to the parish? I know on the city of Shreveport, we have a Shreveport redevelopment commission that is similar to a planning commission, and the the members themselves, the council members themselves can be a part of it, or they can appoint other people to do so. That's the reason why I was asking. Maybe it's just different between the government bodies. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think it's appropriate to at least ask if we don't really know. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Jackson.
I don't know if my question or statement is appropriate now. Are we debating the addition, or are we debating the legislation at this point? Or I'm not saying debating, are we discussing the addition, or are we discussing the legislation?
The discussion is regarding the expansion of the agenda right now.
Okay, so I'm gonna hold off on mine. Thank
you. Commissioner
Epperson. I call for the question on the motion to expand the agenda. And if it passes at the appropriate time, we can enter into debate.
Right.
Second.
Been moved by Commissioner Epperson, second by Commissioner Gage Watts to call for the question on the debate of this. And I think everybody else was done anyway. So roll call on calling of the question on the addition of resolution number 9 of 2022.
Commissioner Hopkins.
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson.
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson.
Yes.
Commissioner Young.
Yes.
Commissioner Burrell.
Yes.
Commissioner Jones.
Yes.
Commissioner Gage Watts.
Yes.
Commissioner Talaferro.
Yes.
Commissioner Atkins.
Yes.
Commissioner Chavez.
Yes.
Commissioner Lazarus.
Yes.
And Commissioner Epperson.
Yes.
Okay, that call for the question is adopted. And so now we'll go to the question, which is to expand the agenda to add resolution number 9 with no debate being allowed. We'll just start with the roll call. Commissioner Hopkins.
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson.
No.
Commissioner Jackson.
Yes.
Commissioner Young.
Yes.
Commissioner Burrell.
Yes.
Commissioner
Yes.
Cawthorn. I'm sorry, Commissioner Jones.
Yes.
I'm so sorry. Commissioner Gage Watts.
Yes.
Commissioner Talaferro.
Yes.
Commissioner Atkins.
Yes.
Commissioner Chavez.
Yes.
Commissioner Lazarus.
Yes.
And Commissioner Epperson.
Yes.
Okay, well, while that does have 11 yays and 1 nay, unfortunately, to add to the agenda, it does need to be unanimous, so that motion does not carry. And that brings us to the next item on the agenda, which is a motion to approve consideration of the items under Louisiana Revised Statutes 42:17.1. That's the motion that would allow this agenda to be heard via teleconference.
So move.
So move.
Second.
Been moved by Commissioner Burrell, seconded by Commissioner Gage Watts to do the teleconference certificate. Seeing no one on the board, roll call.
Commissioner Hopkins.
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson.
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson.
Yeah.
Commissioner Young.
Yes.
Commissioner Burrell.
Yes.
Commissioner Jones.
Yes.
Commissioner Gage Watts.
Yes.
Commissioner Taliaferro.
Yes.
Commissioner Atkins.
Yes.
Commissioner Chavez.
Yes.
Commissioner Lazarus.
Yes.
And Commissioner Epperson.
Yes.
Okay, that is a unanimous approval of the agenda. And so we will move forward. At this time, I'll point out that this is also where your certificate of teleconference is attached. There's no action required on it. And that brings us to the next item, on our agenda, which is the selection of the Caddo Commission officers for the year 2022.
Commissioner Chavez.
Thank you, President. I'd like to make a motion to elect Commissioner Atkins as president for 2022.
Second.
Thank you.
Second,
It's been moved by Commissioner Chavez, seconded by the chairperson to select Commissioner John Atkins as the new president. Commissioner Chavez, you want to speak to your motion?
I just think he's going to do a great job and ask for your mutual support. Thank you, President.
All right. Commissioner Jackson, you want to speak to that motion?
No, something else.
Okay. Seeing no one else, let's do an electronic vote.
And actually, I should have asked this before. Did y'all want to set this up as a slate, individual votes, or do you want to? It sounds like we only have one nominee for president. Do you want to go ahead and nominate?
Yeah, we can do that and have one vote and be done with it.
That way we can send you just one form and you can do all the vote at once.
That's fine. Commissioner Jackson.
Well, in that case, Mr. President, I'll make, I guess, a substitute motion to add Commissioner Burrell as vice president and Commissioner John Paul Young as parliamentarian.
second,
Been moved by Commissioner Jackson to include Commissioner Burrell as vice president and Commissioner John Paul Young as parliamentarian, and that was seconded by Commissioner Stormy Gage Watts. Commissioner Jackson, want to speak to that motion?
No.
Okay. Well, commissioners, no one is on the board. Let's electronically vote on these and submit it.
So you should have your options in front of you now. And
Wait,
again,
so-
this is
so-
just
so
our
should we
12.
just hit 4? Jeff, should we just select number 4?
You can select, number 4 was if the motion was just made as a slate of officers. Since there is really no opposition, as long as you make a choice on each one, I think that would be great.
I got you. Okay.
You're going to be forced to pick all 4 or else it won't let it go through.
yeah, I just. picked
Submit
four.
button's
You have
not
to do it
working.
to submit it.
You gotta select all 4.
And I'm sorry, I heard somebody say something wasn't working for them.
No,
That
you
That
need
was
to.
Commissioner
select all-
Lazarus.
Yes, you have
That's
to select.
right.
all
You
four
have
in
to
order
select
for
all
it to
4.
work. Yes.
Okay, great. So it looks like I'm only missing one commissioner's vote.
Oh, wait a minute. I use number 4 and push my submit, and I'm not submitting.
You go ahead and select a
Do the
choice
other?
for 1, 2, 3, and 4,
Okay.
and that way it'll.
Gotcha. Thank
All
you.
right. All right, and that result is unanimous with 12 out of 12 commissioners voting in support for the slate of officers for President John Atkins, Vice President Roy Burrell, and Parliamentarian John Paul Young.
Congrats, guys.
Thank you so much. I think.
Thank you all for your support. I appreciate it. And Mr.
you.
President, thank you for your year of service. And we appreciate all you've done for the last year to lead us through a tumultuous time. And we will do a more appropriate thank you in the next week or so.
Here, here.
All right,
Commissioner Johnson, anything to add before we move on with the agenda?
I'll save it till when we get basically in person meeting. I'll do my leave out speech.
Okay. All right.
All
Well,
right.
thank you very much for all you've done over the last year, and thank you for your mentorship to me personally. I appreciate it.
All right.
All right,
Thank you.
Mr. Clerk, carry on.
That brings us to citizens' comments, and via teleconference, of course, we have a phone number citizens are able to call in on, and we have received at least one comment electronically. The phone number that citizens may call into is 318-226-6596. Again, that number is 318-226-6596. And then also, of course, the link to leave comments is attached to the agenda, which is posted online and shared in our regular sources. We have received.
Mr. Everson, Mr. Clerk,
Yes, sir.
before we go into visitors, I think I overlooked a couple of raised hands. I want to make sure Commissioner Epperson and or Commissioner Jackson didn't have something to say before we move over to the visitor section.
I do, Commissioner Chairman, two things. First of all, I'd like to ask that everyone that isn't speaking or recognized to be a speaker, please put your mute button on. We can hear throat clearing, background noise. Please mute. And secondly, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that item number 9.1 on our agenda, recognize the Louisiana Army National Guard's proclamation, be moved up. Major General Lee Hopkins is on the line with the National Guard and to give some comments relative to the proclamation. And we want to keep him on his schedule if I can get a second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to move item 9.1 regarding the Louisiana National Guard up in the agenda. Did you envision that we take that on before visitors, Commissioner Epperson?
Yes, sir, if we could, please.
Okay, do we need to vote on that, Mr. Clerk?
Is there any opposition to it?
Seeing none.
It sounds like perhaps that is adopted by acclamation. And we will do that right after we do the citizens' comments. Does that sound?
Actually,
Thought it was
I'd like to do it now if that works with Commissioner Epperson.
Okay, I'm sorry. I thought you said right
Yeah.
before visitors, and I thought you meant after citizens.
I
But that's
did.
okay.
I misspoke. Commissioner
That's
Epperson,
okay.
the floor is yours.
I would like for the clerk to read the proclamation, if he would, please. And also I would like for Major General Lee Hopkins, if he would put his video on. Oh, I see him.
I see him.
Welcome, sir.
Yes, thank you very much for having us.
Mr. Clerk.
I will begin reading that in just one moment. And also, Commissioner Epperson, you did share a photo. Would you like me to share that photo at this time? Commissioner Epperson?
You muted yourself, Commissioner.
That's not relative to
Not relative to
Master
this
Sergeant.
now.
That's not Master Sergeant Williams.
That's okay. That's for later. All right. Today we have the in the name and by the authority of the Caddo Parish Commission, a resolution of recognition and appreciation for the Louisiana National Guard. It reads, whereas the Caddo Parish Commission recognizes and commends the Louisiana National Guard for their service, commitment, and selfless dedication throughout 2020. And whereas during the tumultuous year, the Louisiana National Guard displayed incredible dedication through its efforts to protect the lives and welfare of Caddo Parish citizens and Louisianans. And whereas the Louisiana National Guard was called to action regarding the COVID-19 global pandemic, as well as responding to devastation left by Hurricanes Laura and Delta. And whereas the Guard has stood on the forefront administering tests and delivering personal protective equipment to help combat the dangerous and deadly COVID-19 virus. And whereas the Louisiana National Guard has supported missions involving transportation, communications, public works, and generators and power supply to those who were affected by Hurricanes Laura and Delta. The Guard has also cleared nearly 1,800 miles of roadway of hurricane debris. And whereas the Louisiana National Guard stands ready to protect and assist the citizens of Caddo Parish, Louisiana, and the United States of America by being deployed in multiple overseas missions in Iraq, Afghanistan, and other dangerous areas. And whereas for their invaluable commitment to this parish, state, and country, the Louisiana National Guard has earned their deepest gratitude. Now therefore be it resolved by the Caddo Parish Commission, meeting in legal and regular session this 6th day of January 2022, that it does hereby proclaim Sunday, January 31st, 2022, as Louisiana National Guard Day in Caddo Parish, Louisiana, and urges all citizens to join with the parish in recognition of this important day. Be it further resolved that the Caddo Parish Commission does hereby express its sincere appreciation of the Louisiana National Guard, who stepped up to the plate during these difficult times, and commend the Guard for their hard work, dedication, and life-saving efforts. Be it further resolved that the Caddo Parish Commission does hereby extend sincere hopes and wishes that the Louisiana National Guardsmen remain safe and in good health as they continue to serve this parish, state, and country.
Move for adoption.
Second.
You're the Lieutenant Governor of Georgia.
Second.
For re-election. He faces
All right, so we have a motion by Commissioner Epperson, a second by, I'm not sure who made that second.
I believe I heard Lazarus is what I heard, but there may have been a few.
All right, we had a
It
motion by
was actually
Commissioner
Commissioner
Epperson
Jones.
Oh, Jones? Okay, thank you.
Yes.
and a second by Commissioner Jones. Commissioner Epperson, would you like to comment on your motion?
Yes, sir. Welcome to our meeting today, Major General Hopkins. It's indeed a pleasure to once again honor our Louisiana National Guard for all of the faithful dedication and service that they have rendered on behalf of our parish, our state, and our nation. Also, just as a caveat, if you would look further down our agenda, we have two more items relative to things that we are going to be doing in recognition of our military and our military veterans. Also, I'm going to make sure that this proclamation is sent to the National Association of County Officials, which I'm on the Military and Veteran Steering Committee, and we're going to ask that all members of our 3,000 counties that's members of NACO will do the same relative to their National Guard forces within their respective states. So at this time, if you'd like to comment, we'd appreciate it, sir.
Oh, well, thank you very much. I do have a copy of the proclamation here, and we really appreciate this recognition. And so thank you to Caddo Parish. Thank you to the Parish Commission, for taking the opportunity and throwing this forward and recognizing the soldiers and airmen of the Louisiana National Guard on 31 January as National Guard Day. And I applaud the efforts of the commission, because as the resolution talks about commitment, and I can tell you that the parish officials and the local officials and first responders of your parish are also committed to your mission, and we view emergency response as a team effort. And as the resolution states, together we have overcome a lot of challenges, multiple hurricanes, tornadoes, winter weather, freezes, floods. You name the emergency, and together we have stepped up with all of us pulling our best forward to meet those missions. We appreciate the close working relationship that we have with the parish. And this proclamation, we do appreciate it because it highlights that we do have a great partnership, and we do have a good partnership with not only the local officials, but also our emergency officials there in the parish and the first responders that we work in and day out during an emergency. So, it's just very nice because we do view the citizens of Louisiana and Caddo Parish as our customers. So it's always nice when you get a thank you from the people that you serve. So we appreciate that. And we will certainly share this with all of our soldiers and airmen to ensure that they see this recognition, because it does highlight the extraordinary events that together the National Guard, Caddo Parish, and all of Louisiana have endured and overcome over the last few years. So on behalf of our Adjutant General, Major General Keith Waddell, and the entire Louisiana National Guard, our sincere appreciation for recognizing this proclamation and the partnership that we have together. We look forward to really maintaining, nurturing, and holding that partnership for the years to come. So thank you very much.
Thank you, General Hopkins. I'm looking to see if we have anyone else on the board. Not seeing anyone right now. We'd like to thank you again for your service. Thank you for taking the time to participate in our discussion today. And please thank all of your troops on our behalf for their dedicated service to our state and our country. With all that being said, could we have a roll call vote in support of this resolution, Mr. Clerk?
Commissioner Hopkins.
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson.
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson. I don't see Commissioner Jackson. Commissioner Young.
Yes.
Commissioner Burrell.
Yes.
Commissioner Jones,
Yes.
Commissioner Gage Watts,
Yes.
Commissioner Talaferro,
Yes.
Commissioner Atkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Chavez,
Yes.
Commissioner Lazarus,
Yes.
and Commissioner Epperson.
Yes.
And Commissioner Jackson, did you want to cast a vote on this? I didn't get your vote. Yeah, I guess you're on
What we
mute.
voting on?
This is the Louisiana National Guard Special Resolution.
Oh, yeah. Mhm.
All right, that motion carries with 12 in support, and so that passes unanimously.
As we would expect. Thank you again, General Hopkins. We appreciate your participation and your service.
All right. No,
Next
thank
item.
you.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Next item, Mr. Clerk.
All right, that brings us back to citizens' comments, where for teleconference today, we have citizens' comments. Citizens are invited to call in with their comments at 318-226-6596. Again, that is 318-226-6596 for their public comments. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes. And we are also accepting comments via the link that is posted with the agenda. We have received one electronic comment. If you'd like, I'll go ahead and share that.
That'll be fine.
Okay, the public comment that we received comes from Makewe Jackson, and she says she would like to be invited to be placed on the agenda to have a vote on American Rescue Plan funding. Makewe Jackson, I believe, is the applicant for Operation Neighborhood. And
Okay.
Linda, do we have any calls? Again, callers are welcome to call at 226-6596. Do we have anybody holding?
Yes, we do. It's Makewe Jackson.
Okay, yeah, if you'll connect Miss Jackson.
Okay, yeah. Hello, Miss Makewe.
Yes.
Okay, great. You have 3 minutes to speak. Please state your name for the record and then continue with your comment.
My name is Makewe Jackson. How are y'all feeling? I'm great. I'm actually would like to add, I have been feeling anxious for the fact that crisis does not take a holiday. Crisis shows up every day on unwanted guests. Crisis really show up and show out. Crisis doesn't care about crisis. I'm the CEO, founder of Operation Neighborhood Reinforcement. I was at the Caddo Parish Commission APR committee, which was held on November the 4th, 2021, November. And I was truly impressed with the parish and the ARP committee environment within the Caddo Parish. I would welcome the opportunity to be a part of that. As I look forward to hearing from the full body Caddo Parish Commission on the final decision on funding, I anticipate and anxiously we wait. We do not know when we're going to mobilize our crisis team within the Caddo Parish. I was told the next step for funding is to be added to the workforce session full body agenda to be voted on. And so we are here just to say to the full body, when can we be added to the agenda item as an agenda item? I yield back.
All right, thank you, Miss Jackson. And of course, the commissioners are not able to respond to questions at this time, but we appreciate the public comment. Linda, do we have any other callers?
Mr. Epperson, I'll ask or Dr. Wilson, I'll ask that someone with your staff just get back with her regarding her request.
Okay, sir.
Go ahead, Commissioner Epperson, or Mr. Everson.
No, sir, we have no other callers.
Thank you very much. Okay, if y'all are comfortable, we can move on to visitors.
Yes, sir.
All right, that's the next item on your agenda is visitors. You have one scheduled group of visitors today. They are on the line with us, and these are representatives from your Juvenile Justice Citizens Advisory Committee. This was a committee that was appointed in late 2021, and they have had a couple of initial meetings and wanted the chance to let y'all know that they've started up.
Okay, who is speaking on behalf of the Juvenile Justice Citizens Advisory Committee today?
Good afternoon to each of you. I am Sheila Wimberly, and I am a co-chair of this committee. First of all, congratulations to you, Mr. John Atkins, on your appointment.
Thank you,
as well as to Mr. Borrell and Mr. John Paul Young.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The Juvenile Justice Committee met on yesterday, and we did have a quorum of 9 present. There were 2 absent, and there's actually 1 position still unfilled. On yesterday, we introduced ourselves as well as recognized those commissioners who asked us to board this particular committee. And of course, on behalf of the Juvenile Justice Citizens Advisory Committee, we would like to thank each of you for recommending us to this committee. Our mission is to serve and serve the young people. And so we appreciate each and every one of you. And of course, I would just like to say a special thank you to Commissioner Stormy Gage Watts for appointing me to this position. We have an awesome group of individuals who are excited about the work that is set forth ahead of us. So we look forward to reporting to you guys yet again. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Ms. Wimberly. We appreciate your service and the service of your whole team, and we look forward to hearing the results of your work. Any
Thank you so much.
questions for Ms. Wimberly? I see a question from Commissioner Epperson.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Wimberly, would you name the other committee members that's on the committee?
Of course.
Would you like me to read the whole list? Ms. Wimberly, would you like
If
me
you
to
don't
read
mind,
the whole
Jeff,
list? That way
you can read the entire list.
we don't accidentally leave anybody else.
Thank you, Jeff.
Sure thing, absolutely. The committee is made up of Casey Kilpatrick Baird, Candy Beard, Giselle Proby Bryant, who's also on the call with us today, Heather Courtney, Lieutenant General James Kowalski, Ken Kreft, Jamar Doc Myers Montgomery, Ms. Miguel Parsons, Mr. Ryan Williams, Sheila Wimberly, and Jessica Yates. And Jessica Yates, I believe, is also on the call today.
All right. See, any more questions for the Juvenile Justice Committee? Seeing none, I will thank you all again, Ms. Wimberly, for y'all's work and effort in this. We look forward to hearing back from you, and thank you, Ms. Proby Bryant. And Jessica, I think you may be on the call as well. So thank you all. We look forward to hearing back from you.
Thank you so much.
You bet. Next item, Mr. Clerk.
That brings us to adopting regular session minutes. You have regular session minutes from December 9th, 2021 meeting, as well as special minutes from your January 4th.
So moved, Mr.
We have a motion from Commissioner Burrell, a second from, who was that?
Second.
Second from Commissioner Hopkins. Would you like to comment, Commissioner Burrell? Are you ready for a vote?
No, we good.
All right. We have a approval by acclamation. Anyone have any concerns? Okay,
No.
approval by acclamation. Let's move on, Mr. Clerk.
All right, that brings us to special resolutions. You have already addressed and adopted a resolution item 9.1. So that brings us to item 9.2, which is a special resolution of appreciation and recognition for Mr. Sunrose Gay Papa Rutledge.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, so we have a motion from Commissioner Jackson, a second from Commissioner Burrell. Would you like to comment on your motion, Commissioner Jackson?
Mr. Rutledge has been a fixture in our community long before I was even born. Most folks know him as, I think they call him Gay Papa Cha-Cha. He's come up with a song. He was a DJ back in, I guess some people would call the Wonder Years, but very passionate person about Shreveport. They're actually going to have a street dedication in honor and recognition of Mr. Rutledge. And so this resolution has been requested on his behalf. And Jeff, we're just approving it today, but I did send the commission clerk the bio to be able to prepare that formal resolution.
It is attached if you'd like.
Oh,
if you'd
okay.
like me to read it into the record.
No, you don't have to. I think the resolution will be read at the program to honor him. I was trying to get that information up, but that resolution will be read at the program and it'll be presented to him along with the street dedication. So another one of our heroes in the community, and we're just trying to give him his flowers while he is still with us, and tell him thank you and appreciate it. So appreciate
Okay.
your support.
Thank you, Commissioner Jackson. Commissioner Epperson.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman and listeners. Commissioner Jackson, you said the wonder years. I hope the wonder years mean things good.
Yes, sir.
I remember Gay Papa. He had a radio show in the morning, and we would call in. We call it check in to make sure everybody was up, getting ready, going to school, listening to his radio show, and we would be brushing our teeth and doing the Gay Papa Cha-Cha in the morning.
Gay Papa Cha-Cha.
So and Miss Rutledge was an educator out at Atkins Elementary, so they were very instrumental in putting a positive light on many students of those wonder years, and we certainly appreciate Gay Papa, Mr. Rutledge. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Epperson. Commissioner Burrell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Although I was a transplanted to Shreveport back in the mid 70s, 75, I believe is when I came to Shreveport. I remember this gentleman, and he was a very popular DJ and a part of Shreveport's music scene. I have met and talked with Mr. Rutledge a number of times over the years, and he joined a great group of people in the music industry, especially in the radio music industry, like B.B. Birdbrain Davis and the Terrible Turk and some of the others I remember. But they were fascinating people, and they were community leaders. So again, salute to Mr. Gay Papa Rutledge. Thank you.
Thank you. I see no more hands, but I would propose that we accept this by acclamation unless someone would like a roll call vote. Does anyone prefer a roll call vote? Seeing no one preferring a roll call vote, let's accept this by acclamation and move on, Mr. Clerk.
Okay, that is adopted unanimously, and we will move on to the next item, which is a public hearing on zoning and ordinances and cases. We do not have any public hearings scheduled for zoning ordinances today. So we'll move along to public hearings on general ordinances. We have 2 scheduled today. Would you like me to call them individually or read them together, and you can open one public hearing?
Let's read them together and have one public hearing.
Okay. The first item is 11.1, a public hearing for ordinance number 6152 of 2021. That's an ordinance to accept the streets and new territory subdivision, Unit 6, into the Parish of Caddo road system and otherwise provide with respect thereto. That is in District 1. And 11.2 is a public hearing for ordinance number 6153 of 2021. That's an ordinance amending the Caddo Parish personnel policy to require that all parish employees are hired, appointed, or promoted to parish attorney, assistant parish administrator, CEO, department director, or commission clerk must reside in Caddo Parish and to otherwise provide with respect thereto. From Commissioner Johnson.
I declare this public hearing open. Does anyone on the call want to speak in favor or against either ordinance 6152 or ordinance 6153, both of which were just read aloud?
And at this time, it is also appropriate if callers would like to call in to 226-6596. Again, that number being 226-6596. 318-226-6596.
And what's the protocol? How much time do we allow?
It is, generally up to you. I think if we have a few minutes and don't hear a ring, we can move along. Linda, do you have?
In the meantime, it appears that Commissioner Burrell may have a comment, or is that an old hand, Commissioner Burrell?
That's an old hand, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. If you could, yeah, there you go. All right, well, let's give it 60 seconds from here.
Linda, do we have any callers at this time? I don't hear any.
There is no callers at this time.
Okay. Hearing no callers, would you like to move along?
Yes, sir. Let's move along.
Okay, so are you declaring the public hearing?
Yes, the public hearing is closed. Thank you, Mr. Clerk.
Absolutely. Okay, that brings us to zoning ordinances. Again, we don't have any on the agenda today. And that will move us to ordinances for final passage, where our first one is ordinance 6152 of 2021. That's an ordinance to accept the streets and new territory subdivision, Unit 6, into the Parish of Caddo road system and otherwise provide with respect thereto in District 1.
So move to adopt.
We have a motion. Well, the chair will second, hearing no other. Commissioner Hopkins, would you like to comment on this motion, this ordinance?
Yes, sir. These are roads in just north of District 2, but in District 1, a subdivision. It meets all the parish regulations as far as built to standards and the different things that are required. So at this time, this would be to take those roads in for maintenance and part of our road system.
Okay, Commissioner Jackson is on the board. Go ahead, Commissioner Jackson.
Dr. Wilson.
Yes, sir.
Are these additional roads being taken into the parish road system?
It's an ongoing process we have for the last 20 or so years. When the subdivisions let us know in advance.
This is a subdivision.
Yeah, subdivision, yes.
Okay. Okay. I'm gonna leave my phone. I'm gonna leave my call off of mute though, Mr. President. I won't. Is Animal Service on the line? Just a point of privilege, real quick. Is Animal Services on the line? Are they here, Dr. Wilson?
Yes, sir.
I'm gonna leave my what's his name off mute so they can hear all of this dog barking, so that they'll know that I'm not when I'm calling them. So when y'all hear all this in this background, it sounds like a kennel over here. I'm at the kennel over here. This is in a neighborhood with all this barking and screeching that's going on. So thank you for that point of privilege.
So
well, hopefully you'll just give us a small sampling and then do us the pleasure of muting. All right. Is that it, Commissioner Jackson?
That's it. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for the clarification, Doc.
Yes, sir. All right. Roll call vote. Is there any other comments on this item before we go to a vote? Seeing none, a roll call vote, please, Mr. Clerk.
Commissioner Hopkins.
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson. Commissioner Johnson. I didn't hear you. I'm sorry.
Yes.
Okay, great. Commissioner Jackson.
Yes.
Commissioner Young.
Yes.
Commissioner Burrell.
Yes.
Commissioner Jones.
Yes.
Commissioner Gage Watts.
Yes.
Commissioner Taliaferro.
Yes.
Commissioner Atkins.
Yes.
Commissioner Chavez.
Yes.
Commissioner Lazarus.
Yes.
And Commissioner Epperson. Commissioner Epperson, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Thank you very much. That motion carries with 12 in support. So that passes unanimously. That brings us to the next item, which is the ordinance number 6153 of 2021, an ordinance amending the Caddo Parish personnel policy to require that all parish employees hired, appointed, or promoted to parish attorney, assistant parish administrator, CEO, department director, or commission clerk must reside in Caddo Parish and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Move to adopt.
Second.
We have a motion to adopt by Commissioner Johnson and a second by Commissioner Burrell. Would you care to comment, Commissioner Johnson?
Yeah, I think we pretty much hashed this out during our previous meetings. We also had a campaign that we also want to put on the agenda at some point in time about bringing people back to Caddo. And I mentioned that, if you want to bring people back to Caddo, but you want to exclude all these department heads, it really didn't make sense. And we need to do something that was consistent. So if you're going to bring people back campaign, you also need to make these 9 or 8, however many it is, also stay in Caddo Parish. And we're talking about new hires instead of people who are already working for the parish. So if a new hire wants to have the motivation to be a director, then they would need to be moving into the parish and not stay somewhere else.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Johnson. I see Commissioner Hopkins was on the board first, and then Commissioner Chavez.
Yes, sir. I was one of the ones that was really opposed to this ordinance, and but I think we did come up with a change to grandfather people in. And I have talked to some of the employees and they feel comfortable with that. So I will support this. I do want to say one thing to our administrator and anybody that may be an administrator in the future, that if you ever see the need and we're having trouble hire quality people, please come to the commission. And if we need to change this ordinance, we can change it at that time. But I think we can live with what this ordinance says today. Thank you.
Commissioner Chavez.
Thank you, President. I'm looking at the fine print. I don't see the part where we're going to do the campaign to try to raise.
I believe that was it. He was making reference to Commissioner John Paul Young's reference to a campaign to recruit people back into the parish.
I got you, because I'm cool with that one. This one is, I think I've spoken my piece enough about that one. So, okay, I'll yield back. Thank you, President.
Okay. Anybody else on the board? I don't see anyone. If you're there, shout. Okay. Seeing no one else, roll call vote, please, Mr. Clerk.
Okay, Commissioner Hopkins.
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson.
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson.
Yeah.
Commissioner Young.
Yes.
Commissioner Burrell.
Yes.
Commissioner Jones.
Yes.
Commissioner Gage Watts.
Yes.
Commissioner Taliaferro.
No.
Commissioner Atkins.
No.
Commissioner Chavez.
No.
Commissioner Lazarus.
No.
And Commissioner Epperson.
Yes.
All right, that motion, let's see, that carries with 7 in support and 4 in opposition. I'm sorry. Yeah, did I count that correctly?
Did we miss that 7 and
5
4 is
in
11.
opposition. I'm sorry, 5 in opposition, 7 in support. I believe that's correct.
It's 8-4.
Yeah, I think it was 8-4.
Oh, thank you.
Does everybody agree with 8-4?
That's
Okay.
correct.
That
I'm
passes.
sorry, I'm sorry, I must have tally marked one in the wrong column, but I
Well, there's a lot of votes to keep up with, and you do a good job of keeping up with them all.
I appreciate the correction. Thank y'all.
Thank you, everybody. Let's move on, Mr. Clerk.
The next item is going to be ordinances for introduction by title. I did skip over zoning ordinances. We don't have any for introduction by title today. So ordinances for introduction by title, we have quite a few. So I will read those into the record, and then after that, we'll proceed to the next agenda item. The first is 15.1, introducing ordinance number 6155 of 2022, an ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the Economic Development Fund in the amount of $5,000 to provide an additional appropriation for the Delta Upsilon Lambda Foundation and otherwise provide with respect thereto. That's from the Economic Development Committee. The next item, 15.2, introduce ordinance number 6156 of 2022. That's an ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the Economic Development Fund in the amount of $5,000 to provide an additional appropriation for the Dress for Success Shreveport Bossier and otherwise provide with respect thereto. Also from Economic Development Committee, as is the 15.3, introducing ordinance 6157 of 2022. That's an ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the Public Works Fund and the Capital Outlay Fund in the amount of $100,007, $500 to provide an additional appropriation to install welcome signs on I-49 and otherwise provide with respect thereto. From Commissioner Johnson. The next item is 15.4, which is to introduce ordinance number 6158 of 2022. That's an ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the Economic Development Fund in the amount of $5,000 to provide an appropriation for Friends in Unity and otherwise provide with respect thereto from the Economic Development Committee. The next item is to introduce ordinance number 6159 of 2022. That's an ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the Economic Development Fund in the amount of $10,000 to reduce the appropriation for the Playas and Playettes Incorporated and otherwise provide with respect thereto from the Economic Development Committee. The next item being introduction of ordinance number 6160 of 2022, an ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the oil and gas fund for the year 2022 to provide an appropriation of $109,000 to provide Caddo Fire District 7 with a part-time employee and to otherwise provide with respect thereto from Commissioner Hopkins. Then we come to the introduction of ordinance number 6161 of 2022. That's an ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenues for the American Rescue Plan Fund to provide an appropriation of up to $30,000 for Red G Enterprises and to otherwise provide with respect thereto. The next item is going to be the introduction of ordinance number 6162, an ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenues for the American Rescue Plan Fund to provide an appropriation for counseling in public high schools in Caddo Parish and to otherwise provide with respect thereto from the American Rescue Plan Committee. That brings us to the introduction of ordinance number 6163 of 2022, an ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenues for the American Rescue Plan Fund to provide an appropriation for Volunteers for Youth Justice for truancy and to otherwise provide with respect thereto from the American Rescue Plan Committee. The next item also comes to us from the American Rescue Plan Committee. It is the introduction of ordinance number 6164 of 2022. It's an ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenues for the American Rescue Plan Fund to provide an appropriation for Caddo Parish Juvenile Court and to otherwise provide with respect thereto. The next item is the introduction of ordinance number 6165 of 2022. That's an ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the E. Edward Jones Housing Trust Fund to provide an appropriation for ERAP housing quality inspections and otherwise provide with respect thereto. ERAP, of course, is the Emergency Rental Assistance Program. That's from Commissioner Jackson. The next item is the introduction of ordinance number 6166 of 2022. That's an ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the E. Edward Jones Housing Trust Fund to roll over an existing 2021 appropriation for eviction mitigation into the 2022 budget and otherwise provide with respect thereto. The next item is the introduction of ordinance number 6167 of 2022. This is an item that has its public hearing set for February 3rd regular session. The previous items have public hearings set for your January 20th regular session. And the following items will be heard on the February 3rd. And that is the introduction of ordinance number 6167, an ordinance repealing section 38-4 of the Code of Ordinances regarding the Shreveport Caddo 2030 Master Plan and otherwise providing with respect thereto. The next item is the introduction of ordinance number 6168 of 2022, also having a February 3rd public hearing. Is an ordinance repealing ordinance 6071 of 2021 relative to the establishment of a parish planning commission and otherwise providing with respect thereto. The next item is the introduction of ordinance number 6169 of 2022. That will have a January 20th hearing, and it is an ordinance approving cooperative endeavor agreement with Tim James Incorporated relative to construction of a privately owned tollway over the Red River pursuant to Louisiana Revised Statutes 48:2037 and otherwise provide with respect thereto. That is in District 9. The next item is the introduction of ordinance number 6170 of 2022, an ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the oil and gas fund for the year 2022 to provide an appropriation for relocation assistance and to otherwise provide with respect thereto from Commissioner Johnson. And the next item is the introduction of ordinance number 6171 of 2022. That is an additional appropriation for Fit for Life Ministries and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. And I'm sorry, I think I skipped a portion of that. That's the introduction of ordinance 6171 of 2022, an ordinance amending the 2022 budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the American Rescue Plan Fund to provide an additional appropriation for Fit for Life Ministries and otherwise provide with respect thereto. The next item is the introduction of ordinance number 6172 of 2022. That's an ordinance amending the 2022 budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the E. Edward Jones Housing Trust Fund, and to provide appropriations for housing projects and otherwise provide with respect thereto from Commissioner Jackson. And the final item in this section is the introduction of ordinance number 6173 of 2022. That's an ordinance amending the 2022 budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the Riverboat Fund and the Oil and Gas Fund to provide an additional appropriation for urban support and to otherwise provide with respect thereto from Commissioner Gage Watts. This is another item that will have a February 3rd public hearing. And that concludes the introduction of ordinances today. That brings us to the next section on our agenda, which is work session minutes, where you do have minutes attached from your January 3rd work session.
Move to approve.
We have a motion to approve from Commissioner Jackson. Second from Todd Hopkins, I believe, Commissioner Hopkins. May we do a vote by acclamation to approve those minutes? Does anyone require a roll call vote here? Seeing no one recalling a roll call vote, let's approve that by acclamation and move on.
Okay, that was adopted unanimously without opposition, and we will move to resolutions, where the first resolution we have today is resolution number 1 of 2022. That is a resolution authorizing the Caddo Community Action Agency Incorporated to administer the Head Start program for the parish of Caddo and otherwise provide with respect
Move to
thereto.
adopt.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Johnson, second by Commissioner Hopkins. Commissioner Johnson, do you have any comment on this?
No.
Okay. Seeing no one on the board, let's vote. Oh, sorry, Commissioner Epperson's on the board.
Just wanted to let it be known that I think there's about 5 Head Start centers that shut down due to COVID outbreaks in Caddo Parish. And I believe a judge had shot down the federal mandate for vaccination for Head Start centers in Louisiana too. So, 6 in one hand, half a dozen in the other. Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Epperson, thank you. All right.
Ready for a roll call vote?
Yes, sir, please.
Okay, Commissioner Hopkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson. Commissioner Jackson, I didn't hear your response. Commissioner Young,
Yes.
Commissioner Burrell,
Yes.
Commissioner Jones. Commissioner Jones, I heard you say something, but I didn't hear it.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Gage Watts,
Yes.
Commissioner Taliaferro.
Yes.
Commissioner Atkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Chavez,
Yes.
Commissioner Lazarus,
Yes.
and Commissioner Epperson.
Yes.
All right, that motion carries with 11 in support and 1 out of the chambers, unless Commissioner Jackson, did you want to cast a vote on that? I don't know if maybe you stepped away from your computer. Okay, that motion carries. That brings us to resolution number 2, which is a resolution approving the amended 2021 budget of the proposed 2022 budget of the North Louisiana Criminalistics Lab Commission and to otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Motion to adopt.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Taliaferro. I couldn't see, who was the second?
Burrell.
Commissioner Burrell is the second. Commissioner Taliaferro, care to comment on your motion?
No, Mr. President, I think it's self-explanatory. We're just a formal approval for their budget that they gave us. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Any other comments before we call for a vote?
I got one.
Okay, go ahead, Commissioner Johnson.
Seems like again this year or for 2022, they operating in the red. Revenue is like 4.8 and expenditures is like 5.3, and they're like they're eating into their fund balance. So this time next year, if they hit this fund balance about the same amount, they're gonna have to go back to the drawing board, or does the parish have to come up and say, we're gonna give you some additional dollars?
Commissioner Johnson, I share your observations and your concern there. it seems like if my memory is correct, which is always suspect, but I seem to recall we asked that question last year and that they had some capital activities going on that was increasing their expenditures. Can someone on administration or Commissioner Telfair verify that?
Commissioner Atkins, I think that was the case, but however, we do not provide funding for this agency.
All right, but I'm just saying, I mean, if they come short and then they're gonna say, well, we don't typically serve them with funding, but if they come short and the fund balance is short, then the next thing that they're gonna do is, can y'all give us some money?
Okay, Erica, you have an answer on that, Erica? You'd like to respond?
Well, as Commissioner Atkins explained, it's related to capital. So since capital is more one-time than ongoing, when the capital program ends, then it should be that it reverts, that their revenue should cover their expenses. So we haven't in the past, or from a time I can recall, we're not required to by law, and we haven't funded this organization in the past. So, but I do understand your concern that if they were to fall short, would they, a lot of people ask. So
right. So I'm looking at capital outlay. It's only $30,000. So, and they have a budget about $515,000. So you got $400-some thousand just they need to swipe out of their budget if they're gonna keep operating and have the funding that they need. That's all. I just wanted to make sure that that's on the record.
Yeah.
Yeah, Commissioner Johnson, I believe there are several other parishes a part of this crime lab too. Not just they reside in the parish of Caddo, but they support operations throughout Northwest Louisiana.
I see, yeah, the Northwest Louisiana. So they'd be asking each parish to help them out next time around. Yeah.
You understand?
I'm done.
Thank you.
Mr. President.
Commissioner Burrell.
Yes, yes, I too have a question about this North Louisiana Criminal Lab. I was one of the ones at the state who kept them in the budget for capital outlay to build that beautiful facility over there. But it's my understanding with them having all the other parishes involved, and they no longer had to ship their activities up to Arkansas somewhere where they were doing much of this work, that they would be flush. So I'm not sure why they're short. So I would like to know that.
If I could, I believe I can speak to that from some information that they provided to the office last year. It appears it's still relevant this year. If y'all like, I can go ahead.
Commissioner Burrell, are you done, Commissioner Burrell?
Well, I'm asking a question. I haven't gotten my answer.
Okay, maybe Commissioner, may we let Commissioner Clerk Everson see if he can address your question?
That'll be fine.
So what was shared with our office last year from Terry Pritchard, who is the person who apparently is their executive secretary with the crime lab, explained that they are funded by moving and non-moving violations and bond fees, and newer practices. Some of the impacts that they've had on their budget, practices like alternative sentencing and diversion programs have had some minor effect on their overall operations budget. That has had some negative impact, but not a very large detriment. The thing that was very detrimental to their income was COVID-19, the pandemic shutdown, and the decrease in traffic flow and ticket writing. The writing of tickets and bonding court appearances has been sporadic and stopped substantially and altogether during that 2020 year. And so that is one of the things that's accounting for their big shift in unusual balances these few years. So
I see.
So in addition to some changes in the market that they're aware of and trying to budget around, they had that major impact that they're still trying to account for.
Okay, so this North Louisiana criminalistic lab, maybe I'm not, maybe I'm confused, and I thought they dealt with autopsies and that type of thing.
I believe they do. They cover a large area, 29 parishes, so 29 parishes contribute to their budget. Yeah, they are located in Caddo and certainly, do the bulk of their work in Caddo, but they receive funding and work from the 29 parish area.
So their major funding comes from tickets, is what I'm hearing?
That's what this
The court appearances, I believe.
court appearances and moving and non-moving violations. So both.
Okay, so their forensics portion, which I understood when we had the opening of this thing, that that was a major activity that they had, that they gained resources from. So we'll talk about that later, because it doesn't add up to me since I've dealt with this for a few years.
I will say Ms. Pritchard was very forthcoming with information last year. I'm sure she'd be happy to provide you all with a report or even appear as a guest if that'd be beneficial.
That would be fine. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm not sure. Thank you, Commissioner Burrell. I'm not sure who's first, but we'll go to Commissioner Epperson.
Mr. Jackson was up before I was.
Okay, Commissioner Jackson.
No, I just was going to try to figure out, are we the only ones that approve their budget, or do all the parishes that's associated with this thing approve their budget?
Their budget needs to be adopted by 22 of the 29 parishes.
Okay, and then my other question was.
Oh, I'm sorry. That was the number that had already adopted it last year at this point in time. The majority of the parishes of those 29, so 16 or 15 rather.
So 16 of the 22 parishes need to adopt it?
They have to have 15 adopt it.
Oh, okay, and then
of the 29.
Okay, and well, now that leads to another question. So, and this is just a hypothetical for, I guess this would be to Henry, who's the attorney on the call. So if, or
Yes, sir, yes.
If those parishes that don't adopt the budget, would they be committed to, any shortfalls? If they say, okay, well, we're not adopting this budget, are they committed to any shortfalls, or do y'all know at this time, or do you need some more research on it?
Commissioner, back to the question about their funding. Their funding is entirely by court costs that are assessed in certain criminal cases.
Right. But I know shortfalls, though, there are these provisions that say when folks are short, the parish has to pitch in or whatever. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, no, not in this situation.
Okay, so we're not obligated to cover any losses. This is just kind of.
It's not like the district court witness fund or things like that.
Okay. All right. That's my question. Appreciate it.
Commissioner, thank you, Commissioner Jackson. Commissioner Epperson.
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman and Mr. Commission Clerk and others, if it was be okay, I would ask that we would invite whomever's in charge at the criminalistic lab to appear before us so we can ask those questions to them direct.
That's a good philosophy, Commissioner Epperson. Commissioner or Dr. Wilson, maybe we could have him come in as a visitor, or him or her, or whoever the appropriate person is.
Yes, sir. We'll coordinate with
All right. I guess we still need to vote on this. Commissioner Jackson.
I guess I'm also curious, is there a reason why we typically do it as a resolution and not an ordinance, or is that?
Yes, sir, Commissioner. That's because it's not our budget. We are this isn't from the Caddo Parish budget. This is just a sign off of their budget. So,
and I just hate to be so inquisitive. What is our relationship to this? What's the?
As far as I understand it, is just the requirement that when they were established, that they are to get the approval of their budget. I believe it is just so that there is some monitoring and communication between our bodies and their lab. So I think it is. I think it's just their requirement on their side.
All right.
And Commissioner, I can speak to that. The statute specifically says that the commission shall prepare an annual budget which shall be approved by at least a majority of the governing authorities of the parishes which the commission serves. So the legislature is the one that determined that we have to vote on it.
So we have to approve their budget, but we do it by resolution.
Correct. I mean, what else? Yeah. I mean, because it's something that would not have the force of law like an ordinance that's permanent.
Okay. All right. Thank you. That's it.
All right. All right. Are we ready? Or have we
So
voted on this?
the motion currently on the floor is to adopt this from Commissioner Taliaferro with a second by Commissioner Burrell. Are we
Okay.
ready for a vote?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Commissioner Hopkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson,
Yeah.
Commissioner Young,
Yes.
Commissioner Burrell,
Yes.
Commissioner Jones,
Yes.
Commissioner Gage Watts,
Yes.
Commissioner Taliaferro,
Yeah.
Commissioner Atkins.
No, just for the heck of it.
All right, Commissioner Chavez,
Yes.
Commissioner Lazarus,
Yes.
and Commissioner Epperson.
I abstain. Do I need to give my reason?
I think,
Go
go ahead.
We do
Mr.
need a
Clerk.
reason if you're abstaining.
Okay, I abstain because this is one of many probably archaic laws that's on the book within the state of Louisiana that puts things down on local government. And hopefully this will bring some attention to it. We can get legislators to go down to Baton Rouge and pass certain laws overnight for certain things. Certainly, I think they need to look at a lot of these old archaic laws that's on the book and scrub them and clean them up. Thank you.
Unfortunately, I think unless you have a conflict of interest, you have to cast a vote.
No.
Okay. All right, that motion carries with 10 in support and 2 in opposition. And that brings us to resolution number 3, which is a resolution requesting Congress to take such actions as are necessary to eliminate provisions of federal law which require veterans to pay taxes on their Social Security benefits and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Move for adoption.
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Epperson, a second by, I think, Commissioner Jackson. Commissioner Epperson, would you like to speak to your motion?
Yes, sir. Just like to state that this basically has slight connotations to an issue that the late Colonel Stephen DePeisler brought up relative to veterans' pension benefits, which he was an advocate in behalf of getting that veteran pension benefits for service-connected disabilities would not be taxed. We know that a number of individuals that were called to duty during World War II, either the draft or they volunteered, once they came home, there were not adequate representation as to what their benefits were. There were not veteran service officers set up in different places. So a number of them that are up in age now, the few that's remains living. And as a note, I'd just like to state our last Medal of Honor, our last oldest World War II veteran was 112 years old.
I'm sorry, I think somebody just jumped on the line and they've muted themselves since then.
From New Orleans, just passed upon yesterday. And I think this will be a fitting benefit to give to the few that's remaining, because once you reach Social Security, you get your Social Security benefits. Social Security benefits are taxed too. And all of the veterans do not retire with the pension. And I think this will be something that will be an excellent benefit that the few ones that's remaining should enjoy and should be entitled to. And of course, our resolutions with NACO are due by January the 12th. And I would like to pass this on, and we would act upon this with NACO during our legislative resolutions. And just like to state that the way that we got the funding for the Northwest Louisiana Veteran Cemetery came from a resolution such as this with NACO's help. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Epperson. I'm not sure of the order. I'm going to call on Commissioner Johnson first.
I wanted to in global resolutions 3, 4, 5, 7, and 8. and adopt.
Okay, we have a resolution to in Globo 3, 4, 5, 7, and 8.
Second.
So
That's all of the remaining resolutions, correct?
That's correct.
Correct.
Great.
Motion was made by Commissioner Johnson, seconded by Commissioner Hopkins. Any comments on that, Commissioner Johnson?
No.
Okay. All right. I've got people that were on the board. I guess I'll go ahead and take those questions, and we'll leave your motion on the floor for right now. Commissioner Chavez.
All right, let me unmute this. Thanks, President. I guess in congruence with Commissioner Jackson, who wants us to stay congruent in the way that we vote. I had reservations with resolution number 3, although I love veterans and I agree with the essence of this. I think me and the author disagreed on asking the Congress to do something just 2 months ago when I wanted the Congress to do something with the FCC. But I'm gonna go ahead and support it this time in hopes that next time I feel strongly about something nationally and we want to talk to Congress about it, that he would support my legislation. Thank you, President.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Chavez. Commissioner Jackson.
Touche.
All I will say is, wow. Wow. I did want to allow, I had invited Mr. Edward Taylor, who is here, and if the commission would indulge for just a brief moment to just give an update or introduce resolution number 5, the 114 loss. I know it was that included in the Globo?
It was.
Yeah. And so he's here, and I don't know if we wanted to, I just wanted him to introduce it. It's a pretty big project in downtown that's going to be going on. And so I didn't want folks to not know exactly what it was. So I don't know, Mr. President, if we want, he's here, but you know.
I hear you, Commissioner Jackson. Commissioner Johnson, would you be willing to amend your?
No, I mean,
motion?
we could keep it in. I just, if he wanted, if we could just, before we adopt in Globo, if we could just allow him to present the project. If
you have to suspend the rules.
Yes.
Okay, can we suspend, could we suspend the rules to allow a comment on resolution number 5?
Second.
I guess we'll have to take a vote on that, Commissioner Clerk.
Okay, Commissioner Hopkins.
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson.
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson.
Yes.
Commissioner Young.
Yes.
Commissioner Burrell.
Yes.
Commissioner Jones.
Yes.
Commissioner Gage Watts.
Yes.
Commissioner Talaferro. Commissioner Atkins.
Yes.
Commissioner Chavez.
Yes.
Commissioner Lazarus.
Yes.
And Commissioner Epperson.
Yes.
Okay, I have 11 of 12 in support. Motion carries to suspend the rules.
Okay, Commissioner Jackson, the floor is yours to introduce our guest.
Yes, thanks everybody. Mr. Edward Taylor with Fairfield Management. He's here. He's joined us today. They're undertaking this project. If anybody is familiar with 114 Texas, it's been an eyesore in the entrance of downtown for quite a while. And so we have a owner that has taken ownership of this, and he's being very aggressive about putting it back into commerce. And glad to have a local developer and a local contractor, Mr. Wayne Brown, who is also going to be working to bring this project to fruition. So at this time, Mr. Ed Taylor.
Mr. Taylor, hello, Ed. Edward, how are you? Could you please orient us? I'm only a block away from 114 Texas, but what building are we talking about here?
It is the building that has the crumbled wall as you're coming into town on the Texas Street Bridge on the right side of the bridge, entering into downtown. I'm not sure of exact. I believe there's a mural on this. It was a sports page club, I believe, at one point, and maybe some other occupancies.
Maybe Humphreys or something.
That's Humphreys. That's Humphreys.
Humphreys.
Okay.
That's right. And Wayne Brown and I are, we're developers of residential developments primarily and commercial as well. And we have been working with the owner who's purchased the building to redevelop it and rehab it. And we would appreciate, and it's important to get community support, and the commission's support would be greatly appreciated and would benefit our efforts in bringing the building back to operation and to the rent rolls of the tax rolls, excuse me, of the parish and of the city.
Well, we appreciate you all taking this on and doing a local project with local people, local investors, and local builders. So thank you. Commissioner Jackson, anything else on this?
Yeah, and so what this will do is the Housing Corporation next week will, I think it's probably about 1.5 million. It'll be an open window. And so it'll be basically a cooperative endeavor with the parish to support this project. So the funds will basically just flow to the parish, to the developers to be able to do this project. There may be an ask for a pilot, but that would be something that we probably would talk to the Industrial Development Board or whomever we would need to talk to about doing a pilot. But as we also know that the Bukowski Bridge, this is probably the second or third building that you will see coming over the soon to be lit Bukowski Bridge in a few weeks. And so I think it's very good that we'll have this opportunity to have a space in downtown that's being put into great use for it. So, and I want to thank Ed Taylor and Wayne Brown for the work that they're doing. They also work with minority contractors to build capacity in our local community. So thanks, and look forward to getting this project. And again, this is something that Caddo Parish will be benefiting from. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Okay, are we ready for a vote here on the consolidated motion? I think so.
Mr. President, my hand was raised.
I'm sorry, I see you, Commissioner Gage Watts, but I don't see a raised hand. But please, by all means.
No worries. I lowered it because we suspended the rules to allow our guests to speak.
Okay, did you have something to say?
Yes, I did. And
Go ahead.
I wanted to speak, Mr. President, in reference to resolution number 8. And I just wanted to say, commissioners, that I believe it's advantageous for us to have a relationship with the MPC. We should be standing as one and not a divided entity. I believe that this resolution is divisive and not productive. We are leaders and we should not be afraid to do what's best for our citizens in Caddo Parish. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wait a minute.
Commissioner Hopkins.
Yeah, just to discuss resolution 8 is that this is to repeal the resolution that created the master plan, and it's a 2-tier deal where we have to do a resolution and then an ordinance. Act 294 basically separated the MPC from the unincorporated areas of the parish. Now but we do have on our books, we have the 2030 Great Expectations. And we all know from the beginning, one of the problems was that master plan. It is a more urban written master plan, and is not something the rural areas won't like, and so they would like that gone. I think if we go ahead and do away with it, we can write our own, and that's one of the things we'll be discussing in long range tomorrow. Is no matter what, we're going to have a comprehensive plan. There's certain things we need to do, but I think this Great Expectations is great inside the city limits because that's what they want. But outside the city limits, where it's more rural and agriculture and things like that, even some of the residential areas, they just don't want to be governed or to be under that 2030 Great Expectation rule. Thank you.
Commissioner Everton.
Okay, if we repeal this as it is now, that repeals it from the urban as well as, that's the entire resolution, right? That would affect the urban areas as well as the parish, right?
Can someone,
Bernstein?
No, sir, it just affects it as it relates to the unincorporated areas because the master plan was also adopted by the city independently.
Okay, well, it appears to me as though, we may have some difference of opinions on this in Globo. So maybe somebody might need to back down and we, maybe pull one or two of them out and let you vote your convictions.
Commissioner Jackson?
Yes, Mr. President, at this time, I'd like to make a substitute motion to separate out resolution 7 and 8 at this time and vote on those two separately from the Englobo.
Second.
Okay, we had a motion by Commissioner Jackson and a second by Commissioner Jones to pull out 7 and 8, resolution number 7 and resolution number 8 from the previous Englobo. Any comments on that, Commissioner Jackson? Any additional comments before we ask for a vote?
Yeah, I just think that, well, one, on 7, I see where we made some amendments on Monday, but I don't necessarily see the amendments reflected. I still see the same language. And so I do think we need to make sure that we need to make sure we know what we're voting on 7, and then on 8, I do think that there may be some differences of opinions on 8 that may need to be individually reflected. So I didn't realize those all were in the Englobo. So thank you.
Okay, all right. Commissioner Gage Watts, do you have something fresh here, something to add?
I think Commissioner Jackson just made the motion that I was going to make.
Okay, thank you. All right, so we have a motion and a second to carve out resolution number 7 and number 8 from the previous motion. Can we vote on that, please, Mr. Clerk?
Absolutely. Again, this is for a motion from Commissioner Jackson, seconded by Commissioner Jones to Englobo and adopt resolutions 3 through 6. Commissioner Hopkins.
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson.
It's 3 through 5. But yeah.
I'm sorry. Yes. You're
3,
correct.
4, 5.
There's no 6.
You're correct. I apologize. 3 through 5. And that is Commissioner Hopkins is yes. Commissioner Johnson.
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson.
Yes.
Commissioner Young.
Yes.
Commissioner Burrell.
Yes.
Commissioner Jones.
Yes.
Commissioner Gage Watts.
Yes.
Commissioner Talaferro.
Jim had to step off the call.
Okay. Commissioner Atkins.
Yes.
Commissioner Chavez.
Yes.
Commissioner Lazarus.
Yes.
And Commissioner Epperson.
Yes.
All right, that motion carries with 11 in support and 1 absent. And so that brings us to the next item, which is resolution number 7. We did receive an updated copy of number 7, and I believe it is the one that is attached to the agenda. But I just wanted—
It's different. That's not the motion I made.
I just want to double check and make sure that at least the one that's on the agenda is at least the one that I received. It may still not be the one that—
It's not the revised one.
One moment, I apologize. So that is the one that's the one that was sent to me. So do you guys—
Well, they look like they added it in the now therefore to be resolved. They added it into that particular paragraph, but did not add it at the top. So that's where the confusion is. You talk about David Wolf at the top solely, but then when you go to now therefore be it resolved, the Caddo Parish administrator or his designee to retain a local attorney on behalf of Caddo Parish to establish the above referenced TIF districts.
Commissioner, if I could speak to that.
Go ahead.
The whereases are not legally binding. They're simply the commission's reciting why it's doing what it's doing, and therefore the changes in the be it resolved paragraph are the ones that are legally operative and would accomplish what Commissioner Johnson requested.
Yeah, I see it. I'm fine.
Okay. Yeah, we took what we understood he was requesting and put it in there as best we could.
Commissioner Epperson, did you have another comment?
Just like to move that we vote on resolution number 7, since it's been clarified.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to vote on number 7. Let's proceed with the vote, Mr. Clerk.
Commissioner Hopkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson,
Yes.
Commissioner Young,
Yes.
Commissioner Burrell,
Yes.
Commissioner Jones,
Yes.
Commissioner Gage Watts,
Yes.
Commissioner Talaferro is absent, Commissioner Atkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Chavez,
Yes.
Commissioner Lazarus,
Yes.
and Commissioner Epperson.
Yes.
All right, that motion carries with 12 in support and 1 absent. And that brings us to the next item on the agenda, which is resolution number 8 of 2022. That's a resolution repealing resolution number 116 of 2011 relative to adoption of a master plan for Caddo Parish and otherwise providing with respect thereto.
Move to adopt.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Hopkins and a second by Commissioner Chavez. Any comments, Commissioner Hopkins?
Yeah, like I said, again, this was just an opportunity. When you look back at 294, it basically takes the MPC and puts them only with the city of Shreveport, unless facilitated differently. But it also says in there that it restricts the master plan to areas inside the city. So, but we have on our ordinance book, and this ordinance and this resolution are both on our books in our code of ordinances. And so we would need to repeal that. And this repeal would allow us then to start the process to do a comprehensive plan that is more, it would fit better for the rural area and for the unincorporated area than the Great Expectations plan. We learned from the very beginning that the Great Expectations is an urban plan, and it really does not look at the rural area, the agriculture part of it stuff, and it's a little too restrictive. So this is an opportunity for us to do that. We still would have to go through the whole process of putting a new, having a new plan, advertising it and all that. But I'm not saying doing away with a plan. I'm saying doing away with the 2030 master plan. Thank you.
All right, Commissioner Jackson.
Thank you, Mr. President. I am mindful, and I talked to Commissioner Hopkins last night and this morning about this, and I'm mindful of the concerns that are being resonated to us by members in our rural community. But we also have to remember that this Great Expectation Master Plan, when we talk about unincorporated areas, I see Ms. Proby Bryant on here. And I don't know if it's Kay or Giselle Proby Bryant that lives in Timberline. They are going to be affected by this. And a lot of what we're going to do with this zoning. Commissioner Gage Watts, I heard her talk about the divisiveness of this, where she lives, and the residents that live over there, they're going to be affected by this. I got a call from a master developer. Who's building in my area, who's building $250,000 homes right here on the edge of town. They annexed into the city of Shreveport with the understanding that they would have, plan development, they would have zoning. And so I get it that the plan that may have been put together may not necessarily work for the rural areas. I get that. And I've heard them loud and clear. But I want us to be careful how we proceed in this matter, because these are $250,000 homes that want planned development. They want that protections. I think Commissioner Atkins, I think you live in Southern Trace, not to drop your address or anything, but one part of that road is in the city of Shreveport and one part of that road is out in the parish. And I think y'all have a Brookshire's coming out there. I think the Kroger's that came up down there, that PUD, that planned urban development that was put together in pretty short order to put that Kroger marketplace down there. Those things were derivatives and byproducts of the Great Expectations master plan. And so I don't want us to think about the Great Expectations master plan as just a deal that is affecting, if we repeal this, we're doing something for the rural folks only. That's got to be something in place for these unique areas. Commissioner John Paul Young has Dixie Garden in his district. And as you cut through it, you're going to be on your way back into the city of Shreveport. So how do we plan? And I've heard us several times say that we should run government like business. But I want to ask us today, how many people would walk into a bank as a business person? Would you walk into a bank or go sit down with investors and you don't have a vision, you don't have a blueprint, you don't have a document for where you intend to go? That's not how businesses operate. You have to have a strategic plan. You have to have a plan. Do we need to be more sensitive to the rural community? Absolutely. Do we need probably less restrictive zoning? Absolutely. I get the calls all the time. But to just tear away in this manner, I just feel is problematic. I'm just going to leave that word there. It's problematic for me. And I wrestled with this. I didn't sleep well. And I texted a couple folks today that I just didn't sleep well. And I don't know, this might have been it, because I usually agree with Todd on most things. And I try to find, I guess I probably was up praying, Todd, that you would accept the amendment that I had offered to you. And when I woke up this morning, you had rejected it. But I want us to be very mindful that we need to be trying to show when the site selectors came here and did their site selection, the last in-person site selection tour we did, they prided the city and parish on how we work together. They prided us. We've done the Southern University Law Center, Dr. Wilson, Ms. Bryan, and myself. We were up walking in that building this morning with the mayor, with Curtis Joseph and the library board. Though the master plan called for increased higher education opportunities. The $1 million that we're getting ready to support the medical school with, the master plan talks about that, and we've supported those things. Caddo Common Park, those are the things. Urban green space, we've committed, I think what, 500,000 or 600,000 for urban gardening. The Great Expectation master plan talks about that. So fairly recently, we have supported things that are in that master plan. And I'm nervous that if we're going to break away completely from the city of Shreveport's master plan 100%, it's going to be hard as we're out there selling to developers and to industry that want to come here, because I don't see Shreveport. When the gentleman, I'm going to wrap up when I say this, when the gentleman who wrote that edict about how Shreveport, he drove into downtown airport. And when he wrote that, he may have mentioned Shreveport, but I saw that as Caddo Parish as well. He was talking about Caddo Parish. You cannot, I don't think we can, this shouldn't be a mutually exclusive thing where you have Shreveport over here and Caddo Parish over there. We have to come together. We have to work together, because so goes the city of Shreveport, so goes the parish of Caddo. And it's not going to work the way I think a lot of people think it's going to work. So I hope we will keep that in mind as we go forward. The votes will be what the votes will be. but this is problematic for me. Thank you, Mr. President.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Jackson. Very, very good points there. I'm not sure of our order. I think Commissioner Epperson may be up next.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As the old folks would say, don't cut your nose off to spite your face. I received a ton of emails the last few days relative to this issue. And probably 99.99.5% of them were just totally discombobulated. It appears as those people were confused. It appears as though everyone had some talking points that was sent out. And when the time come up, I got some out, and I'm going to speak on them, but not today. But let's go back to 2011 when all this came into place. We had all kind of public meetings, we had hearings, and I know I put it out there for my constituents. I appointed about 4 people to attend the meeting relative to this. And I just like to say now, my district is about 45% urban and 55 to 6% rural. And where you take, I can stand on Annie Lovelace Drive in Santa Monica, and I can spread my legs 36 inches apart. I'll be 18 inches in the city, and I'll be 18 inches in the parish. And right at the corner of Greenwood Road and Calderwood Drive, coming into that neighborhood, you got probably home valued at 450,000. Just got another house on Waller Drive that's coming up like it may be over 4,000 square feet, triple car garage. And you are less than a quarter of a mile from the parish and the city. Your property values will be affected within anywhere between a 2.5, 3 mile radius. I am not comfortable with this. The emails that I got, it appears as though the people were spoon-fed something. They had talking points, but they really don't understand what this situation is. So I will not be supporting this effort. There's much more work that needs to be done. And first of all, the community needs to become involved when we are doing things at the particular time, rather than when something comes up and hit them in the face. And then all of a sudden it's a problem because it's in my backyard. So I will not be supporting this. Want to hear from the Attorney General's request. Want to hear more from legal about this. This isn't a cut and dried situation. We need to really take this slow. We need to really research this and go into some good backgrounds about what we're doing. Because otherwise, 5 or 10 years down the road, we'll be right back into the same situation. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Epperson. Commissioner Chavez. You're muted, Mario.
Okay, thank you. I guess my only question is for legal. What's the difference between the resolution and the ordinance? Why do we have them both? And we'll just take that one.
Sure. Commissioner, the reason there is a resolution and an ordinance was that the master plan was adopted by a resolution and by an ordinance. So actually to completely sever the parish from the Great Expectations master plan, you would have to repeal the resolution back in 2011 that adopted it, as well as repeal the ordinance that wrote it into the Code of Ordinances.
Do they both carry equal amount of weight, or wouldn't the ordinance be the law?
They both carry an equal amount of weight.
Okay. Thanks for the clarification, President.
Sure.
That's it.
Commissioner Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. President. I guess one of my issues is one, The Great Expectation, the master plan, it covers Caddo and Shreveport, right? All right. So when you're talking about taking it away, you cannot take Shreveport out of Caddo. It's always going to be there. It may need to be revised, but you cannot take Shreveport out of Caddo. What's going to be done about Greenwood, Blanchard, All City, Vivian, Keatville, all those will need to be included in that document as well. So we'll have a separate document, but then it's going to exclude Shreveport. How you do that? Shreveport is in Caddo Parish. It's not two separate entities. So I think we need to relook at this and say, and come up with a revision, but to have two separate documents, a Shreveport document and then a Caddo Parish document. How can you have that Caddo Parish document when Shreveport is in Caddo Parish? I mean, you can't do it. That's all I have, Mr. President.
Thank you, Commissioner Johnson. Commissioner Burrell. You're muted, Commissioner Burrell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I guess I'm a little bit more confused about this, because if you wind up eliminating the commission from even having input into the master plan, the 2030 master plan, then how would that affect urban commissioners? We will have no voice in any of this, would we? If we actually eliminate this based upon this particular resolution, will we not be excluded, all urban commissioners? We don't represent the city, we represent the parish. Urban commissioners, as well as rural commissioners. And if you exclude, if you wind up voting this down, then I don't see what input we will have as urban commissioners in this whole process. You understand my question?
I don't know who you're directing your question to.
I'm just throwing it out there because I don't know anybody to address it to.
Yeah. All right.
Well, let me try it from another perspective. It seemed like what has created much of the problem is this UDC, Unified Development Code. And I understood from our MPC director that the rural portion, we could set up a separate UDC. You may not like the term UDC, but a rural, for a better word, rural UDC type of policy that will closely be aligned with what we have today already that people are not really complaining about. And I'm not clear on why we would have to reinvent the wheel. Just take what you have and then modify it for the rural area where it would be as close to what we have now that people are not complaining about. And then you wouldn't have to destroy the whole document. I mean, you have to destroy the 2030 master plan to just be modified as well as the UDC. Am I missing something here? To anybody?
Commissioner Hopkins, would you care to comment on that?
Well, like I said, I think the Act 294 basically says that the master plan is inside the city limits of Shreveport. So yeah, you would have, let's just say you would have representation on the urban commissioners, because you'd still be involved in that part of it. But let's just say, and we've said it for a long time, that the needs of the rural area are a lot different than the needs of the urban area. And I don't know I just think the 2030 master plan is not a good document for Caddo Parish or Shreveport, but that's Shreveport's document, and they can do what they want with it. But I think we should start the process of doing something different.
Well, let me ask you this, Dan, since I have a former Chairman. Didn't all this controversy centered around the UDC for the city? Isn't that where the heartache came? Because that's the first time I heard any contention whenever we started talking about the UDC, and then the rural people say, well, we don't want to be a part of the UDC. And then the MPC director came back and said, well, there is a modified version of the UDC that can pertain to the rule, but still have a planning policy. And it would be more aligned to what you have today already that you're not complaining about, or should I say the rural people are not complaining about, but they didn't want that either after this.
No, they did not. I'm sorry.
Go ahead,
Go
Commissioner.
on.
They
Go
did
on,
not
Tom.
want, they wanted the UDC eliminated, and they also wanted the master plan eliminated. That document is problematic to unincorporated areas. Let's just say that.
Well, the UDC for the urban portion, I understood that it was onerous on the rural portion, but the MPC director gave us a document that modified that to make it more in line with what you have today in terms of so-called planning process out in the rural area. Is that not true, Todd? You should know that better than anybody.
I'm gonna let our legal answer that one because I don't know that I can answer it with certainty.
Well, is the MPC person on? Is Alan there? Alan, I see you. Alan? Do you understand what I'm asking?
As I've shared with you, if I'm allowed to speak, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead, Mr. Clark.
As I've shared with you on numerous occasions, we have studied the situations in the rural areas of Caddo Parish, the unincorporated areas. And some of those areas are actually within the parameters of the city of Shreveport, and determined that possibly there is some blame to be associated with what the Caddo Parish Commission finally adopted and what the MPC board recommended. And therefore, we have been working on a document that is more rural in character to amend the Caddo Parish Unified Development Code to reflect conditions that actually exist in the parish. I don't think that you'll ever come up with any document in the city or the parish that all of the citizens will just embrace and say, we are yay, we are ready to obey laws. But I think that the documents that we have started to work on, I mean, we had little to go on because we never knew where you all were going to land, but the documents that we've started to work on, and we have connections and collaboration with planners all over the city and all over the region. One of the problems they were talking about was that the UDC was done by someone in Chicago. We've been in contact with planners in Baton Rouge, Jefferson Parish, Rapides Parish, Monroe, Washita Parish, Natchitoches. We've been comparing all of these things. And I think that rural codes and rural living is rural code and rural living regardless to where you are. The master plan, we always said to the citizen, although the master plan does address the parameters of the city of Shreveport, and it has ex-urban, and as Commissioner Jackson has been talking about, it blends the connection between the city of Shreveport and the parish of Caddo. That is crucial. You should want development to be consistent and flow between the two boundaries. There was always an opportunity. Where we lost all of this is when we actually examined the Caddo Parish Unified Development Code, and some people got mad. I mean, there are a lot of things you do that make me mad, but I don't go and try to disconnect myself from you all, or does the MPC. But
Let me ask.
Hold on a second, Commissioner Burrell. First of all, this issue deals with the master plan, not the UDC, so I don't want to go down the UDC path. I think that's not germane to the agenda.
But Mr. Chair, Mr. President, I think that's where the heartbreak is. We're not calling it that, but it was the UDC that created all the heartburn here from the beginning. And I don't think that we are addressing the real issue unless you do address that, because again, you know, the master plan is just a master plan. But if you start digging down, you're going to start digging into how it's developed, and that goes into your development code, if I'm not mistaken. So go ahead on, Mr. Chairman, however you want to do it. But I know that we had this argument, and where the heartburn came in, although I was rather new, was when we started dealing with this UDC code, and then everybody in the rule just went ballistics. Although the planner, our MPC person, said, well, look, we can modify this pretty much the same as it is today. Whatever rule is governing the rule today, then, you know, we can modify this plan for it to pretty much mirror that, even give them more leeway. But then by that time, everybody had went ballistic and said, I don't want none of it. You know, so, you know, you get this kind of thing. But okay, Mr. Chairman, that's why that was.
I understand. Good point, Commissioner Burrell. I've got several others on the board. If I may move on. All right, Commissioner Stormy-Gage Watts, I think you've been waiting patiently.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to make a motion to move to postpone.
Second.
All right, we have a motion to postpone and been made by Commissioner Stormy-Gage Watts and a second by Commissioner Epperson, I believe.
That's correct.
Would you like to speak on your motion, Commissioner Gage Watts?
Yes, sir, Mr. President. As commissioners, as we have widely discussed, there is still a lot of uncertainty on both sides about this resolution. And as I spoke earlier, I believe that this is an issue that we do need to take up individually and vote our own convictions. And at this time, I don't believe we have a collective decision. So that's why I made the motion to postpone.
Okay. All right. Any comments on the current motion to postpone before we do a vote on that motion?
Yes, Chairman.
Okay, Commissioner Chavez.
Thank you. I was asked by one of our fellow commissioners if we could postpone this. He won't be able to vote. Then I don't want to give his personal business, but it's a child in the hospital, so he fell off the call, and I think to be respectful of him, voting to postpone would allow him to vote on this later as well. So I'll be waiting to vote on that later too.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Chavez. Commissioner Hopkins.
Yes, I would just ask that if we're going to postpone, let's postpone it to the February 3rd meeting, where we also will have a public hearing and the ordinance adoption at that time. So they'll both be together.
Commissioner Gage Watts, would you accept that friendly amendment?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So we have an amendment to the proposal to postpone, to specify that it be postponed to February 3rd. I'd like to vote on this, but Commissioner Jackson, is this relevant to the amended
To the
motion?
new motion. This is to the new motion. I hadn't spoke on the new motion.
Okay, go ahead.
Yes, I would like to ask for administration because this is an issue, and Todd, I know you're getting heat on this, and I'm willing to. I think what we need to do is we need to acknowledge that the commissioner before you, and we're not pointing fingers. I think we need to acknowledge that the commissioner before you didn't do enough to educate the public about what's going on, and I feel I feel for you having to be in this position, having to bear that burden. And I think we need to be supportive. I got a call from a I would say an interest group, an interesting call on yesterday, who was surprised that this thing was moving, these things were moving this fast. And what I told him was, Commissioner Hopkins' constituencies are the only people who I hear from about repealing this. And I asked, I said, what do the people in Southeast Shreveport think? I have not heard from them. So what I'm asking administration to do, as well as our clerk, work together, is to organize, and I don't represent these areas, but I do think we need to make an effort to get out into these areas to hear what are their thoughts. Because there was a whole meeting at LSUS a couple of years ago where I know the Home Builders Association, the Realtors Association, all of those folks showed up and they worked with Mr. Clark and Mr. Sweeney and the young guys escaping my name right now, and Stephen Jean, and they worked with them to bring about some resolutions to all of these, the UDC, the master plan, all of that. So, you know, I'd like to know exactly how does Commissioner Epperson's constituents feel about this? Commissioner Gage Watts. Commissioner Johnson has some folks who live over there in Mallard Bay and Squirrel Point. And those are some pretty nice areas. Commissioner Atkins, I hadn't heard anybody out of Southeast Shreveport say anything about this. I'd like to really make an intentional effort between now and February for us to hear from people, because what is happening, I feel what is happening is the loudest people in the room are getting folks' attention. And that's what I feel is happening. So I'm okay with this postponing, and I think it's the right thing to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Jackson. Commissioner Epperson, is that a new hand?
Yes.
Go ahead.
I don't know about anyone else, but I can certainly speak that I inform my constituents. And of the emails I received, all I get is names. And some of them I would say, please send me your name, your address, your telephone number. I'll be wanting to engage, but I never hear nothing. And I got some pretty ugly and foul language. Do you hear me? Pretty ugly and foul language, which I attribute that to be total ignorance. And it appears that this isn't being driven by ordinary citizens. It's some kind of organizations that's coming out spreading a lot of information. Some of my constituents called me and say, Commissioner, somebody come on my door, knocking on my door, talking about property rights or something. I told them, you get the devil away from my door. If we got an issue with something coming up, Commissioner Epperson will let us know. Have you spoken with him? Because he keeps us informed. I have not received not one complaint from any constituents that's known to be in my district relative to this situation. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Epperson. Okay, seeing no one else on the board, we have a motion to delay resolution number 8 until the February 3rd commission meeting. Is that properly stating the motion, Mr. Epperson?
That is correct. It was a motion from Commissioner Gage Watts, seconded by Commissioner Epperson.
Thank you. All right, let's move forward with a roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Hopkins.
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson.
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson.
Yes.
Commissioner Young.
Yes.
Commissioner Burrell.
Yes.
Commissioner Jones.
Yes.
Commissioner Gage Watts.
Yes.
Commissioner Talaferro. Commissioner Atkins.
Yes.
Commissioner Chavez.
Yes.
Commissioner Lazarus.
Yes.
And Commissioner Epperson.
Yes.
All right, that motion carries with 11 in support and none in opposition. And that brings us to old business. We have no old business scheduled for today. So we'll move along to new business where we have just a few items. The first item is an appointment to the Caddo Parish Animal Services Board. The appointment of Sergeant Gary Bailey to the Caddo Parish Animal Services Board. He is law enforcement representative to fill the unexpired term of Deputy Jessica Anderson. That is a term that expires on January 1, 2026.
Move to approve.
Second from the chair.
Second.
All right, we have Stephen Jackson making the motion and Stefan Jones doing the second. All right, Stephen, Commissioner Jackson, would you like to comment on this?
I assume nobody's done a background check and all that other stuff about what they did in the 5th grade on them. And so let's roll.
Oh,
All right, roll call vote, please, Commissioner
Commissioner
Clerk.
Clerk, I've got it. It's Commissioner Hopkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson,
Yes.
Commissioner Young,
Yes.
Commissioner Burrell,
Yes.
Commissioner Jones,
Yes.
Commissioner Gage Watts,
Yes.
Commissioner Talaferro, Commissioner Atkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Chavez,
Yes.
Commissioner Lazarus,
Yes.
and Commissioner Epperson.
Yes.
All right, that motion carries with 11 in support, none in opposition. And that brings us to a discussion item. This is regarding camera doorbell crime reduction program for Caddo. I believe this was an item that Commissioner Gage Watts had requested an ordinance, and the ordinance didn't make it to the agenda, so we wanted to include this as an opportunity to discuss that request.
Commissioner Gage Watts, would you like to comment?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. I would like to make the motion to remove this from the agenda.
Second.
We have a motion from Commissioner Gage Watts, a second from Commissioner Johnson to remove this from the agenda.
And actually, as the authors, they have the right to just pull that without a vote. So
The authors, Stormy Gage Watts, would you like to just pull this?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
that brings us to communiques and committee reports, where we have an administrative response to information requests from commissioners. And I believe the administration has a couple of items that are responses to previous information requests.
All right, well, maybe Commissioner Dr. Wilson can brief us on his agenda items, and while he's speaking, if someone has a communique, please get on the board.
Okay, yes, congratulations, President Atkins and
Thank you, sir.
Vice President Burrell and Commissioner Young. We have a couple of items. I did send you all a revised copy of the 2020 census data by ethnicity, which showed all ethnic groups. And we did ask for an additional one that shows a comparison between 2010 and 2020 changes that occurred within our census tract. Also, I had a request for information regarding the Red River Expressway. We've been kindly referring to it as a toll bridge and roads. So we have Attorney William Bradford here today to give us a kind of overview on what the project is, the size, scope, and perhaps the total project investment on the project. And that's per one of the commissioners' request for that information. Mr. Bradford, are you on, sir?
Yes, sir, I'm here. I also have with me Tim James Jr., who's a principal with Tim James Incorporated. He's the son of Tim James, the name partner of that company as well.
Okay. Would you take a few minutes to kind of give us overview, perhaps the size, the scope, and the total investment on the project? And sure, what is expected of the parish of Caddo in this endeavor?
Sure. Thank you, Dr. Wilson. And thank you to the commissioners for allowing us here. We'll also be presenting at the Long Range Planning Committee meeting tomorrow, and we'll have some slide decks that we'll circulate. I'll also get a copy of that slide deck to the council, or excuse me, the commission clerk, to circulate to the remaining commissioners who may not be present at that meeting tomorrow. But effectively, Tim James Inc. has proposed a 8-mile roadway that would traverse between Caddo Parish and Bossier Parish, effectively connecting 3132, the end of 3132 at Florio Lucas, to Highway 171 in Bossier over by Parkway. We would effectively ask the parishes, and by state law are required to enter into a cooperative endeavor agreement with the parishes that outline the ability of the developer to both construct the roadway, maintain the roadway, and also set and fix tolls. And so the only thing, and there are a few things to note on this project, the only place where a citizen would pay a toll is when they cross the bridge. So the remaining, 7 miles of roadway or more would be free for use It's all new construction, new roadway funded totally by private dollar by Tim James Inc. And it would effectively connect two of the largest growing economic corridors in Caddo and Bossier Parish. The roadway is planned to be constructed by 2026. We have approval from Bossier Parish. We are working with the city of Shreveport for one area that is at the foot of 3132 and Florida Lucas for a right-of-way agreement through there. We have secured all of the private landowners that make up the entire route of the roadway. We have met with several neighborhood associations, including 12 Oaks. I believe we have their support. We've designed up and provided them options that would give them peace of mind that we manage and control noise and visual pollution that may occur because of the roadway. We do feel like we are a better option to what was proposed through NLCOG's program and projecting through DOTD. We have the support of DOTD for this project. We effectively become a private dollar option to complete 3132 through to the port, as well as to in giving the bridge into Bossier Parish. The port has issued a letter of support for us, and we anticipate this project to come in somewhere between $80 to $100 million. We're currently in preliminary design, but I always try and give reasonable expectations on how this process works. This is an investment by a private developer, and so we do want to be mindful that we are managing costs and expectations at this point. So we don't have a final project. We don't have a final design. And some of the questions that we've received are more in tune to kind of the next step. The first step that we have to get is the approval of the parish to construct this roadway. And so the cooperative endeavor agreement, which has been transmitted to the parish attorney, Mr. Bernstein and I have been in regular communication, and we are providing some updates. I'm actually wanting to hear the feedback from the council as well as the Long Range Planning Commission on the maintenance issue. I know that was raised. I think we've reached a agreeable solution that we would present to both this entity and that commission, being a 15-year maintenance agreement to maintain the roadway. And we also show that the usable life of this is well in excess of what would be an ordinary roadway constructed. We construct this to state standards or better, and also provide a lot of assurances in the cooperative endeavor agreement for the protection of that roadway and the cost reductions. We are not asking the parish at this time or at any point to put in any of its real dollars. We do ask that this become a publicly dedicated roadway, and the parish would benefit in the levels of tax realizations for this corridor. There would be increased property taxes along this corridor. There would be also other economic benefits, especially from the port and making the port more connected to both South Bossier Parish as well as to heading out along the I-20 corridor once it's connected. We also improve headways to Barksdale Air Force Base from neighborhoods like 12 Oaks, where they have over 100, I believe, airmen that live in that neighborhood, or excuse me, over, I think it was over 40 families in that neighborhood for 12 Oaks of airmen that go back and forth to the airfield every day. And so we're excited about the project. We've had near universal support. I'd like to say universal support. This is the last step we need before we can go into development in earnest. And just as a point of note, Volkert is the company that is engaged to be the design and engineering firm, and Volkert is world renowned. I think they're preeminent in this field, and they have given us comfortable numbers and real numbers on the development cost and timeline as it relates to this project. And so Tim James is also on here. They've been very engaged. They visit the community probably once a month or more. They're from Alabama, and they're not Alabama Crimson Tide. They are Bengal Tigers down there. And so that Tim James Sr. makes sure to make that point so that we're all Tigers in this family. But we're in that process of getting this cooperative endeavor agreement polished up and finished and ready for presentation to you all. And once we have that there by the end of this, hopefully by the end of this week, once we have some input back from tomorrow's meeting, we'll be ready to go on this side of the river as well.
Thank you, Mr. Bradford.
I'm sorry, Chairman. I believe, and Tim, if you'll chime in to make sure I'm saying this accurately, what we're asking the parish to take in is about 2 miles of this 8-mile system.
Okay.
Yeah, that is correct. And Commissioner, thank you for taking the time for us to introduce this project. But the roadway in Caddo Parish that would start just south of 3132 and go all the way to the river is roughly 2 miles that we would dedicate into Caddo Parish.
All right, thank you all. Dr. Wilson, I'm not sure if we're in your section of the agenda. Are people out to ask Mr. Bradford or Mr. James questions?
Yes, sir, by all means.
Are
Yes,
there
sir.
anyone, does anyone have any, I see 3 hands up. Are any of these hands directed towards this topic? Commissioner Jackson and Commissioner Epperson. Commissioner Jackson first, then Commissioner Epperson.
I'll yield to Commissioner Epperson.
Commissioner Epperson?
Yes, sir. Mr. James,
Yes, sir.
may I see your face?
Let me see if I can get that to work. One second.
Well, anyway, Mr. James, what prompted you to undertake this project? Is it a prospective investment venture? And your headquarters in Alabama, am I correct?
Yes, sir. That's correct.
Okay, so why'd you undergo this effort? Is it a
This is our
lucrative
business.
investment opportunity or what?
Yes, sir, Commissioner. This is our business. We have a family business. My dad, Tim Sr., is the president of our company and had a conflict today. So that's why he's not on this call. And I'm trying to get you where you can see my face, but
well, that's okay. Go ahead.
And so my dad is was in this business and developed a project down in the coast of Alabama. That project was called the Foley Beach Express. It was a private toll road and toll bridge that flew over the intercoastal waterway that he developed in the early 90s and ultimately sold it years later. But he has been in this business before and got out and did other things. He's a developer in nature, but we have started a family company, and it's my father, myself, and my 2 brother-in-laws, where we are looking at opportunities all around the Southeast where you have an underserved area and infrastructure, whether it just be a road or an area where you've got 2 roads on each side of the river that need connecting. And it's as simple as that, honestly. And we are working on a project right now in Alabama, and we identified this need in Shreveport by studying maps. Believe it or not, we had never even, we actually found this project by studying maps, which we do ad nauseum, and came over and looked at it, had no understanding of what was going on with the extension of 3132, didn't know about it. And so anyway, we dug in a year and a half now, maybe 2 years ago. I've lost track of time.
Okay.
And
well, look, I don't want to prolong you. So in other words, it's an investment opportunity, right?
Yes, sir. This is our business.
All right. This next is to the information. Dr. Wilson, could you have the GPS department to prepare me maps of this 8-mile stretch, and on each side the prospective property owners?
Yes, sir.
Did you read me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Epperson, we will have maps available as well. I can't screen share here, but we do have maps that I will circulate to Dr. Wilson, updated maps that show you the latest route.
Well, thank you. That'd be more up to date than what we have, Commissioner Epperson, which I think will serve your purpose, sir.
And look, Commissioner
okay,
Epperson.
you got my okay. I want the property owners, the layout
yes,
on
sir.
each side.
Yes,
okay,
sir.
The names of the property owners,
Yes,
the tax roll and all that.
Right. You got it.
All right, Commissioner Jackson.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. I too would like to see the maps as well as the owners as well, Dr. Wilson, and definitely want to see that cooperative endeavor as well. Dr. Wilson, did you get my email at about 4 o'clock this morning?
Which one, sir? Which one?
I only sent 2.
Yes, sir. I read everything you sent me today.
Okay, I didn't get any follow-up.
Yeah, I was going to talk to you personally about one of your emails.
Okay, I didn't say anything wrong in it, did I?
No, sir, not yet.
Okay, because I do want to pursue Caddo 4th Street, LA 173 for the right sizing program. I do believe, I think the focus has been, and I have talked to Mr. Bradford. I'll be transparent. I talked to Mr. Bradford. I text Commissioner Atkins and told him I'm not going to do them like they do me. I believe that, you know, the man who is standing over my shoulder here, I was up this morning as I was sending that to you, and he has this sermon called The Other America. And in it, he says, one America is beautiful for a situation.
Yes, I saw that.
And then he
Yes,
says,
sir.
there is another America that has the daily ugliness that it has to go about. And, you know, I have to apologize that the folks over in that take the 6,000, if you saw the traffic count from Mr. Kevin this morning, the 6,000 individuals that cross daily, that cross Caddo 4th Street, that's a lot of people coming through a road that is pretty bad. Those 6,000 folks are having to cross into other lanes. I apologize that they don't have the resources to pay for a road. I'm not knocking what's going on in Southeast Shreveport, but I do want to make sure that the resources that we have and the means that we have are able to capitalize upon to provide for quality infrastructure, because I do believe we are infrastructure deprived in many areas of our town. And when I first approached 4 years ago with this idea of the right sizing program, I was told that the parish did not want to take any more roads into their system. And regardless of who pays for the road, regardless of what sources of resources will pay for the road, the end result will be what? The parish will own the road.
Yes, sir.
And so I'm glad to see that there's private investment coming into Caddo Parish. I'm going to always support developments. Thank you, Mr. Tim James, for seeking out Caddo Parish. I'm going to always welcome. I'm going to always help folks. I'm going to always try to take the high road and help folks do what they feel is best in their area. But I'm not going to do it at the expense of telling my people no. And as I said in that email, Mr. Carl Pearson served Caddo Parish very well.
Yes, sir. And I was quite surprised to hear the naming of that road. Of course, we were oblivious to that, but it's good to know and well deserved.
Well, that was a resolution that this body passed to name that road in his honor and in his legacy. And I just think that with that road being named after Mr. Pearson, and with our Head Start Center there, we ought to want to make sure that we have a grade A first-class road passing through LA 173. And so if y'all could prepare that resolution for our next meeting to be supported. So I'm looking forward to tomorrow's meeting. And Attorney Bradford knows what I told him at lunch, and John know what I sent him in the text message. But we got to make sure that we represent everybody in this parish.
Yeah, I understand that. And Commissioner Jackson, the question, since you brought the subject up, ultimately you want to get the road improved. Is that my understanding?
I want to get the road improved and make sure
repaired and improved, right?
And make sure that it's maintained. And I think we already passed a resolution that asked the parish administrator to take all necessary steps. But I don't know that we've done
yes, sir. Yeah, of course, since we're talking about it, there have been some obstacles to that, which we talked about 4 years that still exists today. And I'll send you an email when I get off of this call with you today that talks to the city's efforts to repair the utilities under that road.
Okay.
No one's going to repair any road without the utilities being repaired first. And that was an obstacle then, and it still remains one today.
Well, my understanding was that they were letting the contract.
Yes, sir. I have all the details of that. but they
Okay.
still haven't done anything yet.
Well, we're gonna
So-
encourage them. I think, I
Yes.
think everybody's got to get around the table.
That's
and
right, that's
we've got to
correct.
come back to the table and talk and
Right.
encourage people to move things along.
Right, right, I understand. I think
And
we
I
both
want-
want the same thing.
But I do want to go ahead for the next meeting. If you could instruct your attorney staff to prepare that
Sir.
resolution.
Yes, sir.
For me. Thank you, Mr. President. And again, y'all got my text message and we'll know what I told them at lunch. So just,
Okay,
I'm
thank you,
on
Commissioner.
board.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Hopkins.
Mine's a communique after,
Okay.
after administrator.
Commissioner Epperson, do you have something on the toll road or
Yes.
something new?
Yes, sir. I'd like to ask Mr. James if he
Okay.
would email me at kepperson@caddo.org. kepperson@caddo.org. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Sure will.
All right, seeing nothing more on this topic, I guess, Dr. Wilson, I'm sorry, it's actually your agenda.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That concludes my presentation today on the things you all wanted the feedback on. And thank you, Mr. Bradford, for being here with us, as well as Mr. Tim James Jr. Thank you. Appreciate it. Mr. Patrick Wesley also.
Hold on, Mr. Jackson, Commissioner Jackson may have a relevant comment here. I mean, maybe
Yes,
be
sir.
relevant to this topic.
No, Dr. Wilson, didn't you have something, update on the E-route as well?
No,
Updated.
sir. We were expecting something yesterday,
Okay,
but we haven't gotten that information yet. But
Okay.
I did tell you the numbers had changed, right?
right. That's what I was saying. Okay.
Right.
All right.
Yeah, we haven't gotten any further confirmation on any different from what I told you last time.
Okay.
All right, thank
4 million.
Thank you all. Mr. James and Mr. Bradford, thank you all for participating in our discussion today. Sorry you had to wait till the end of the agenda
Yeah.
to have your moment, but we appreciate y'all sticking with us and we appreciate y'all's interest in Caddo Parish. And we look forward to working with you on this project moving forward.
Thank you, sir.
Chairman and commissioners, thank you very much. We
All
look
right,
forward
thank
to
you.
it.
Y'all are welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting if you'd like, or you're welcome to dial off. So it's up to
I'm
you.
going to
Thank
sign
y'all.
off.
All
Thank
right,
you.
thank y'all for being here.
Yeah.
Okay,
Thank
on communiques now, moving on to communiques. Commissioner Hopkins.
Yeah, I wanted to basically back in mid-year of 2021, the Economic Development Committee met. A proposed business was brought forward to move to the Highway 2 I-49 interchange. And at that time, there was a request to look at options, how to finance that. And so one of the things we came up with was a TIF district. And so in the process of coming up with how to do a TIF district, I thought it was a good idea to put all the interchanges 173 north to the Arkansas line in that TIF district. We did our advertisements and we actually passed the resolution, but property owners have been contacting me and I respect their view. Most of them are farmers and they do not want to be part of that. They're concerned on property taxes, which was never my intention to ever do any kind of property tax related to that. But I will be bringing down the size of that TIF district to go only for that property that the proposed business is looking at, and any other property related to that one interchange at Highway 2. All other interchanges at this time will be removed. And if we do that in the future, that'll have to come from a request from a proposed business. We won't look at it as a whole. We'll just do them separately. But this will allow us to do what we need to do on the proposed business, but it will also take these concerns from the different property owners involved and take care of their situation. They won't have to worry about that anymore. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Hopkins. Commissioner Stormy Gage Watts.
I think Mr. Ken was before me.
Well, you haven't spoken in a while and you're a lady, so I'm sure Ken will defer.
All right, this is, thank you, 10-4. I got the salute. Okay, thank you, Mr. President. First of all, and I'm sure that Ms. Sheila Wimberly and our other members have already logged off by now, but I wanted to say thank you to them for their service on the Juvenile Justice Citizens Advisory Committee, for collectively donating their invaluable time to this board, and just to let them know that we appreciate each of them. I also want to take this opportunity to remind everyone to stay safe and to do your part. Consider vaccinations and boosters. Wear your mask. Practice social distancing and postpone any large gatherings, especially in-person gatherings. If you can meet via Zoom by whatever means necessary, please do that. We're all in this together, and we will overcome in due time if we work together. As many of you know, that testing and vaccines and booster are available at the fairgrounds Monday through Saturdays from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. I believe they close those gates at 4:30 p.m. And if you have any symptoms, we have testing and vaccine booster appointments are available at Oshner LSU Health primary care locations. You can get those appointments by using your MyChart or calling 318-626-0050. Today, David Rains was providing COVID testing kits while the supplies lasted. And they had them at all of their locations, Bossier City on Doctors Drive with 70th Street, and even Gillum and Menden locations. And I know that the one in North Shreveport is closed at this time for renovations. But I just wanted to share that information with the public. If you need to get that information, it is also on my social media accounts. And lastly, but not least, I had some pictures, but I don't think that they're showing. I would be amiss not to mention a year ago that the breaking news alert that people were climbing walls and pushing their way past barricades and firing shots at the U.S. Capitol came at no surprise to me. After all, for days prior, the world witnessed violent threats to attempt to overthrow the United States of America's democracy. As I watched on live television what appeared to be unbelievable, this certainly couldn't be the land where our honorable soldiers who shiver and starve to patrol our waters, stand guard at mountaintops, even protect the airways for our freedom was being displayed in the land of the free. We are a free America, but we're not above the law. And the fine Americans that served many generations before us deserve better than any attempt to overthrow our democracy. Growing up, my grandmothers and my mother shared stories of water hoses, burned crosses, and horses ridden in churches to place fear in our communities not to vote. That ignited a fire that not only would they make sure I participate in the voting process, but that one day I witnessed my own name on a ballot. As the baton has been passed to me, the torch remains lit to stand up for what's right and to call out what's unacceptable. So today I pause to remind myself and to all who listen that amidst the horrible things that took place on January 6, 2021, may we never forget. Nevertheless, may we yet remember the brave and courageous officers who helped to protect our democracy that day and our elected officials. Even in this uncertainty, those officials carried out the business of the people that day. God rest the souls of the brave heroes who lost their lives. And in the perilous times that we are living in, I believe that God will continue to guide us and to keep us. And may God bless us all. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Gage Watts. Commissioner Epperson.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. I just received a text from Mr. Gidry, Executive Director at Caddo Community Action Agency. Currently, there are 2 centers that are fully closed, as well as some classrooms in Head Start. There were numerous children and staff that was affected with COVID while they was out doing the holidays. Mr. Everson, could you put the photo up of Master Sergeant Tony T. Williams? Okay, to my colleagues as well as the listening audience, this is a young man that hails from Keithville, Louisiana, a graduate of Huntington High School. He was one of the first student commissioners for a day in 2000, Caddo Parish Commission. He was a member of the GROTC program in Caddo Parish. He started his military career 20 years ago as a private E1. He has been listed today and recognized by Marcus's Who's Who for excellence in military communication. During his military tenure, he has received his associate degree, his bachelor's degree, a master's degree, and currently he's working on his educational doctorate degree. Mr. Williams, as I stated, hails from Keithville, Louisiana. He will plan upon retirement to return back to Louisiana. He's purchased a cemetery in the Keithville area, an old cemetery that was forgotten. And he's going to be doing some geriatric evaluation and historical evaluation relative to that. Also, I would ask that you would go to his account on Amazon. He has written numerous papers as well as numerous books. And I just want to introduce him to all of us as a proud person that hails from Caddo Parish. And I hope upon his tenure within the military and his retirement that he would come home to Caddo Parish that will be welcoming and make sure that they have something that a person of his nature can aspire socially and economically to within this parish. Also, thank you, Mr. Everson. I too would like to recognize January the 6th, 2022 as the 1-year anniversary of one of the worst atrocities that has happened upon American soil. I would put it right on the keel with 9/11. No foreign flag or no flag of any opposition has ever spoiled the floor of our capital relative to what happened on January 6th with Confederate battle flag being brought into the Capitol Rotunda. This is an affront personally to my father, whom served in World War II. And you all know the social and economic times during that period of time. He was in Germany, Northern Africa, and he was on the boat to invade Japan when they dropped the bomb on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and the peace was afforded to end World War II. I, Vietnam veteran, my son, Kenneth Jr., Christopher, and my youngest son, Stephen, whom recently returned from Kuwait and Iraq this fall. Personally, we feel it's appalling for that to have happened. One thing that we must know that was an attack on democracy. And everyone, from the smallest person that participated in that event to the person of the highest honor that helped perpetrate, be they the President of the United States, Congressman, and any other person, should be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. Our democracy is based upon no one is above the law. I still consider this as an atrocity, and I will never forget what happened on January the 6th. And I hope any of you would do the same. It was appalling, unpatriotic, un-American, and it was tyranny against our sovereign nation. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Epperson. Commissioner Jackson.
Yes, I want to just note that we have the MLK holiday coming up before we meet again. And I want to encourage everybody to find something that day to do. I do notice that as an adult, I've learned that some people kind of disregard the day and don't even recognize it as a sign of disrespect. I want to encourage people to, get out, get into this community, because Dr. King was not only about racial equality, he was about social and economic justice. We have a lot of people, a lot of individuals in our parish, in our city that are suffering, they're hurting from something. And when we talk about how he would have spent his holiday, I'm reminded that he spent Easter in jail. And so let's utilize this opportunity to get out, get into our food bank, get into a food pantry. There's an event at Centenary College. Dr. Wilson, I think we normally sponsor the snack or something for that day. So hopefully we'll continue to do that. There's a senior meal delivery that's going to be coordinated for seniors that are in the MLK, not MLK, it's going to be coming out of the MLK Neighborhood Association Center, but it's going to be focusing on seniors across Caddo Parish. And so we need to make sure, because those seniors don't get a meal on a holiday like that. They won't eat. And so let's get out and be good neighbors. Dr. King was about the beloved community. His last sermon preached was, who was my, well, it was, I've been to the mountaintop, but the Pastor Jones was on the phone. I think he'd say his thesis or his opening was, who was my neighbor? Who was my neighbor? And so let's be concerned about our neighbors, not just on this day, but all times. I too want to make sure that we reflect and make sure that we never forget the injustice and the tragic situations that happened on January 6, 2021. A lot of people would like to rewrite history, but it happened, and it was unfortunate that it happened, and it's a stain on this country. And what led to, a lot of people, we look at just January 6th, but I want us to always focus on the rhetoric, the vitriol, the lies, the misinformation that led to January 6th, the taunting and the teasing. We had Mr. Tim James here today, and regardless of how I may have felt about the deal and things like that, no one has demanded that he turn in, 3 years worth of tax returns. No one has gone, Commissioner Epperson didn't go pull what he did in the 5th grade. Commissioner Burrell didn't go berate him. So January 6th was the culmination of something. And we have people in our community right here, right now, that agitate and agitate and agitate. They lie. They spread gossip. They pick and choose and they twist the truth. And those were the things that led to January 6th. Those folks were agitated to go up there and take over that Capitol. And so I commend Senator Bill Cassidy for saying that we as leaders have to make sure that we call out rhetoric and bigotry when we see it, because we can't just be appalled when January 6th happened. We can't just be appalled when Charlottesville happened. We also have to be concerned about what is going on that is fueling these things. We have to have respect for one another. We have to treat each other the same. And so I want to make sure that, we do our part here locally to ensure that we don't have our own version of a January 6th, because, as I've often said, people have approached me in places where they shouldn't be approaching. People have threatened other commissioners, and it's just getting out of control. Yes, we live in America, the greatest country in the world, where the First Amendment guarantees us a right to free speech. But we also need to understand that we have core principles and core values. And a lot of us assume to be Christians or have some higher being of faith in. And the higher faith and the higher being that I believe in says, love thy neighbor. You can disagree with them, but at the end of the day, love thy neighbor. And we should never be about the business of trying to pull people down. I don't have to hate you to love me. And so that's what I think January 6, 2021 should have demonstrated is we have to be concerned about the rhetoric that leads up to these type of events. Thank you, Mr. President, and congratulations to the new officers.
Thank you, Commissioner Jackson. Commissioner Burrell. Commissioner Burrell, you may be muted.
Yeah, I am just sitting here listening to everyone else. I think I would be remiss too if I did not bring to the forefront again January 6th. There were two situations that really impacted my life and changed it quite a bit. And that was 911. I happened to be with my now wife, who was my fiance at the time, on my first boat trip to Jamaica and some places down there. And when 911 hit, and it was clearly an empty feeling and a very frightful feeling to see those planes fly by into the building. And, you know, it's almost like my world just turned upside down, and all I could think about was the people who were on land. We were in the Gulf at the time, that all being attacked. I never thought about any race or what have you. At that time, it was just that America was being attacked. January 6th brought that same feeling back, that same feeling of emptiness, that same feeling of fear that our country was under attack again by our own people, by people that I know, by people that actually some from Caddo Parish, as I understand, and a couple of names that was mentioned, that I even knew those names, I guess being in politics for some time. And relationship that I spent years to develop among my fellow colleagues, although we were just happened to be in a different party. I mean, strong relationships that I developed over the years seem like overnight just dissolved, after these type of situations occur. That is the reason why people need to recognize politics is local. You can talk about your Congress people up there, in which I am very disappointed in some of those who are representing us now, because they won't even recognize the fact that this happened. And it has caused a lot of consternation, a lot of division that was not necessary. And here we are trying to work together on a local level with the shadow of such divisiveness on the national level. We had a prayer vigil today to recognize those people who died during that time, and many of our Republican colleagues that were there didn't even show up to even recognize those that these are not the people that I knew. These are not the type of folks that I've ever known that really creates this sense of uncomfortableness that I have. The other issue too is on voting rights. Republicans, and if you go back and search the history, they're some of the first one who supported it. And up until just recently, you would get a disproportionate number to vote for it, if not introduce it. Now, all of a sudden, they don't even want us to vote. or either that, or they want to make it more so difficult to not vote. That is not a democracy. We're moving toward an autocracy, and I think we need to strongly consider that. I know that me saying this is going to make people uncomfortable, but we should be uncomfortable. This is a time in our history that all of us should be uncomfortable. We can't continue to try to put walls and fences up between us. We're all in America, and we're all supposed to be a part of United States of America. So just because the hole may be in your side of the boat, that doesn't mean we're not going to sink. We're going to all go down with it. So I would like for us to really think about that, pray about that, all of us, to hopefully we can get this, get this car back on the road and move it in the right direction. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. President. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. All right, seeing nobody else on the board, if I'm missing someone, shout out. Okay, moving on, where are we on President's Report?
Brings us to President's Report.
Well, you all know that I like to prepare a long speech, so but I'll save it. I'll save it for a future date, and we'll move on to the
But I'm
agenda.
comfortable now. Why don't you read it now? No, I'm kidding. Not to put you on the spot as a new president.
Are we? Do we have any late arrivals?
We have not received any. Linda, do we have any late arrivals? And I'll go ahead and give that phone number out right now. It's 318-226-6596. Again, that's 318-226-6596.
None were standing by in the meantime.
Thank you very much.
All right. Well,
find out whose child or whatever went to the hospital or something.
well, we'll touch base on that offline, Stephen, if that's okay with you. All right. Hearing no.
That brings us to the final item, which is to adjourn.
All right. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, and appreciate it. Have a nice weekend. See many of you tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.